It is your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Well, we like to end the official broadcast week with a bang, and we'll certainly be doing that today. I'm Alex Jones, your host. Thank you for joining us. We're blasting out on the GCN radio network, GCNlive.com. We're going to have pharmacist Ben Fuchs in studio with us in the second hour, talking about Big Pharma, Monsanto, and ways to reverse all of the designed poisoning from the aspartame and the bisphenol A and the MSG and all the rest of it. He'll be in studio with us. And then we're going to have our once-a-week financial discussion and phone calls with Bob Chapman of the International Forecaster. And in studio, who's also down here in town with Ben Fuchs, the one, the only Ted Anderson, who looks about 20 years younger and has lost, it's more than 30 pounds. I mean, I saw him a few months ago, and he lost a bunch of weight on Youngevity. It's not even designed to make you lose weight. Just when you get the nutrition you need, you stop eating as much. I've lost 37 pounds, as you know, in 2 months. And Dr. Corey Gold's here also at the studio. I may bring him in here. He's the inventor of Pollen Burst, one of my favorite Youngevity products, also available at InfoWarsTeam.com. But separate from that, wow. We love fighting the globalists. We love winning. We love having 15 million listeners between XM, over 100 AM and FM affiliates, Global Shortwave, WWCR, #1 podcast and audio streams at Infowars.com, and growing exponentially. But a big part of that is obviously you, the listener, spreading the word. That's the bedrock backbone. But the Drudge Report drives more traffic than the New York Times, Twitter, and Facebook combined. And there's only one link on the internet that is #1. It is the top super juicy, as we call it here in the office. I think we only had that 6 or 7 times. We've got the big, giant, humongoid link at drudgereport.com right now. And sure, click on that big, giant white whale. Look at it. TSA trains Super Bowl hot dog sellers to spot terrorists. I mean, but yeah, they've got the guys that come around going, hot dogs, got you hot dogs and peanuts. And they're like looking for spies everywhere. About 4 or 5 years ago, I was actually at the Austin Bergstrom Airport about to fly out on a story. And Aaron Dykes goes, hey, Alex, look at that. And we're sitting there eating some barbecue at the Salt Lick there at the airport. And I look over. And there's a TSA agent looking side to side like they're James Bond fantasizing. And they had a black book. It was a black-covered book with white text on it. And Aaron remembers the exact name. It was something like, How Someone Becomes a Terrorist. And subtext, how you catch them before they know they're one. I mean, they give these guys a couple-hour course. Last time I flew out of Austin, they did this questionnaire thing where... Well, they call it a chat down. You get your chat down, you take your shoes off, your belt off, you get a body scan, and most people I've seen body scanned. So every time I fly, I'll sit on the other side after I've gone through the checkpoint and refuse the scan, and I'll watch them, and most people are groped. And let me tell you, if you see a woman who everybody's whistling at, oh, she's getting groped. In fact, they admit now with Senator Rand Paul that they hit a button to screen him after he agreed to go through the scanner. He agreed to go through the microwave oven, and then Dr. Paul said, I don't know. Oh, you said there's something on my leg? No. I pulled up his pants, and they said, look, we're going to grab your genitals. And he said, no, you're not. I'm going to go back through the scanner. And they said, well, you're not going to leave here then. And they held him for an hour and a half and got caught lying and said he got irate. But now they admit that that it alerted for a random search. That happened last time I flew out of Austin. I went through, it wasn't the sound of metal, it was like a beep, and he goes, oh, you've been chosen for a random grope. And I said, no, you're not going to grope me. And they said, fine, just stand over in this box so we can make you feel guilty that you're a criminal. And that's a psychological warfare operation. All right, it's a giant transmission. I haven't even scratched the surface. All the big headlines straight ahead. Stay with us, Infowars.com. It is Friday, the 3rd day of February, 2012. We're going to be live here for the next 3 hours, and I'll be back this evening with the nightly news, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, obviously, 5 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Mountain. And we, of course, will be back this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Central with the Sunday abbreviated transmission as well, because there's so much news. We don't take a long weekend around here. I'll be live this Sunday. Okay, where to begin? TSA trains Super Bowl hot dog sellers to spot terrorists. And they're training school teachers to spot, and they're training gun dealers and barber shops. We've shown you the training manuals that barbers and auto mechanics and swap meet organizers are given by the FBI. And they say if someone's wearing jeans or has a cell phone or has a camera, oh, that's the big one. If someone has a camera, or if the police pull you over and you have a snorkel and mask, heaven forbid, that means you must want to blow up a dam, because that happens so often, because there's so many terrorists. Of course, if they attack Iran, Iran might actually fight back, and that's some of the headlines today. The defense secretary is quoted in the Washington Post and other publications as saying Israel is set to attack, according to the Secretary of Defense, I don't know if this is true, Iran in April. And Iran has been told not to defend themselves, or it is going to be the greatest evil and the most outrageous thing ever seen. And if Iran as much as lifts an arm to block those bunker-busting missiles coming in, it will be called the biggest outrage on earth. They'll be hyperventilating on the news, screaming, pulling out of hair. Oh, my God, Iran actually defended themselves, because everybody knows. I'm not being sarcastic here. This is actually being said. A couple months ago, they were beating people in an Occupy event, and the cops charged the people with resisting for balling up. So now balling up is resisting. And I guess if a giant missile was coming and you balled up, they'd be on the news and say, when they knew the missile was coming, they balled up. Oh, my God. Oh, kill them all. Glass parking lot them. But yeah. And by the way, that 5-year-old was running in the playground. Arrest them. Oh, that's Associated Press. It's an insane, sick society that we now live in. So we have that report. TSA trains Super Bowl hot dog sellers to spot terrorists. Viper search teams should be out in force before Sunday's game. The TSA has trained the gropers that'll be groping you and your wife and children if you're dumb enough to go to this game and put up with all the garbage. We're going to be breaking all of that down. Also, we're going to continue with our coverage of the latest developments on Fast and Furious, where the mafia government has been caught perjuring themselves before Congress, where they have been in contempt, and where they will not release any of the documents. Now, some of the documents have been leaked to CBS News and others, and yes, it was a plan to blame the Second Amendment. A plan to blame the Second Amendment. And if you're a new listener, just type into the search engine, documents reveal ATF wanted to blame Fast and Furious on the Second Amendment, and it was a plan to try to take your liberties and destabilize Mexico, but also fund and arm certain drug cartels like Sinaloa that were waging war against other cartels that were not laundering their money through the proper U.S. banks, which Bloomberg also reports in just the last 2 years laundered $376 billion, just Wachovia and Wells Fargo alone. You know, Wells Fargo, the good little guy, Warren Buffett, who shut down the big oil pipeline coming into the U.S. from Canada so his trains can carry it to the west coast of Canada to China. Again, Bloomberg and AP reported. The nice little man that says, raise taxes on the rich. He means middle class, so he can be given it in banker bailout money, as he has been, because he became this big billionaire, because he's such a loving person. And he gives the money to Planned Parenthood, who's under criminal investigation, of course, and who's gets taxpayer money in Travis County, where I live, to pay for the abortions, and who sucks all this government money, and who on record is a eugenics outfit. Even if you're for abortion, understand Margaret Sanger, Planned Parenthood, got awards from Adolf Hitler, and they gave him awards. And they said, we are established to kill black people because they're subhuman. And, of course, there were, according to Planned Parenthood, there are, of course, with the big scandal 3 years ago where grants were given to Planned Parenthood and they accepted to make sure it went to abort black babies. They're like, I just want this money in the tape conversations to go to getting the black babies. And they're like, oh, we understand. Oh, yes, you can pull those up. Because, again, real fascist eugenicists don't run up in a Nazi uniform and say Sieg Heil. That's usually some federal operative, you know, trying to pass some hate law. They've been caught dressing up like Nazis for media consumption. The feds have been caught and others have on record. Just type in Nazi rally in Orlando run by feds. Nazi rally in New York run by feds. Nazi rally in Houston run by feds. Nazi rally in Salt Lake run by Fed. I mean, you'll get Orlando Sentinel, Salt Lake City Tribune. Look it up. The real Nazis have got long hair and sandals, and they mix in with the regular hippies and people that are actually against racism. And they're like, women choice, trendy, And they've got that NPR voice. They've learned how to get the job done. In fact, later I'm going to get to this stack of news, and I have some audio clips putting it all in perspective. But the Daily Caller reports, after cutting ties with Planned Parenthood, the Komen donations up 100%, which basically means they doubled. And they cut it saying, we're only concerned with breast cancer, and there's too much controversy with Planned Parenthood. And they're under criminal investigation, so we're not going to fund them. Now, I thought I'd give you some background. We have a video clip later on this. Pelosi, Girl Scouts, relationship with Planned Parenthood, very valuable. Yeah, they teach women it's their right and sacrament to not have a man in the house and to have abortions. And again, even if you love your abortion and think it's a special goodie you have, the point is, this is all about eugenics. And then, of course, I have another clip that we'll get to later if we have, or you can just type in Pelosi and population control. And you can find her, one of the interviews was on Meet the Press, another was with CNS News. But here's a quote: contraception will reduce cost to the states and to the federal government. And then she goes on, population reduction is needed to balance the budget. Remember that 3 years ago? Now, let me just give you a background here. We've shown you actuaries, gone over the numbers that even insurance companies have put out. This is no secret that the baby boomers, there are going to be less people born to baby boomers. Baby boomers, on average, one male, one female baby boomer, on average, together, both of them together, replicate 1.3 in the United States. Same number in Canada, even lower in Europe. The only reason our population has gone up is the immigrant influx, 50+ million in the last 40 years or so. Okay? We'd be like Russia with an imploding population if there wasn't a giant immigrant flood. Okay? So, Pat Buchanan wrote a book on it, Death of the West. It's a mathematical fact. Japan's got 1.2. Italy's got 1.2. So for two people, they have on average 1.2. And then I get idiotic emails every time going, how does a person have 0.2? It's in averages. Averages. Don't build straw men to deny what I'm saying, people out there. On average, baby boomers, from 1946 on, the baby boomer generation, people born from the late 40s up until about 1960 or so, the baby boomer generation, people coming home from war, coming home from death. Every culture has a boom after a big war. It's genetic survival mechanism. That's what the globalists are up against, by the way. They're trying to turn off our survival mechanisms, survival instincts with eugenics, teach us to hate ourselves through fake environmentalism. Look, humans are in control of themselves to a certain level, but not to at base levels of survival and procreation. You're going to be defeated in New World Order. No amount of hormones in the food and water are going to turn that off. But side issue. Baby boomers' populations explode. Okay? Now they have on average 1.3 children. Lower in some areas of Europe and Japan, as I just mentioned. They can't now pay for the old people or take care of them. So what happens? What did the globalists say they do in the 40s? They saw all this beforehand. They said, we'll teach people to euthanize. First, it'll be your right to euthanize and kill yourself. And I don't really know who can disagree with that. I'm not for it. I'm not saying it's moral or it's good, but you're in incredible pain. You're sick of it, whatever. Nobody can stop you. But see, the state wants to be involved to turn you off and then make their decision, and that's now going on. And I've documented with Wall Street Journal writer Wesley Smith and others over the years, thousands of people on record who were paralyzed neck down begging to live, but because the state was their ward, they're dehydrated. But that's never the poster person that the media chooses to sell this. They'll choose a Terry Schiavo. The media will, because you could debate whether she's brain dead or not. But Terry Winlin, others, he could walk. He could bowl. He was in his butt, but he was brain damaged. And the state had him, and they chained his butt down and killed him deader than a hammer. I mean, look up these names. Look up these people. Every time I cover this and open the phones up, I can open the phones up for 2 hours with nurses calling, saying right now in our hospital, there's people chained down being dehydrated. They're murdering people all over the world right now. Okay? So all you yuppies that don't want to have kids, don't want to get married, think you're having fun right now, well, they're already announcing you're not going to get eye surgery under government health care. You're going to get a cane. You're not going to get knee surgery. They admit that's how it is in England. So when she says Pelosi's full of baloney, I'm going to break it more down on the other side. All right, getting back into Nancy Pelosi and her statements about we got to have more abortion, we got to reduce population, it'll save money. That's a predatory implosion economy. That's a cannibalistic economy. That's a win-lose economy, not a win-win. And the fact that the West is dying and doesn't have enough people to take care of their parents, to pay into the Social Security system, that's the reason, not only because the bankers have stolen all the money to begin with, but that's the reason you're being euthanized, is because your money that you've put in your pensions is to be stolen through inflation, through taxes, and through outright seizure. I mean, they announced last week they're raiding what's left of the federal pension funds and putting IOUs in it. The money's gone. And when you do get it, it's going to be in inflated garbage. It's not going to be worth 1/10 of what it was supposed to be. But they'll do it over a decade so most people don't notice it. People don't notice creeping death, creeping corruption. They notice a frontal assault. I've told the story of, personally in my life and seeing in other people's lives, people will get violently angry if you walk across their yard or if your dog goes to the bathroom in their yard. We had neighbors, when we moved because of it, would come over and say, your cat's going to the bathroom in our yard. And we'd say, we don't have a cat. And the old woman said, I know about you and your TV show. I know your cat's doing it. And I knew right then she was a mentally ill servant of evil. And I could, so we don't have a cat, shut up. But I could tell she was going to start making stuff up and really getting evil. I know when to hold them, know when to fold them, because other stuff she was saying. So I just looked at her and I said, where is it? Anytime it happens, I'll clean it up. And went over in their little piles under some bushes where some cat was burying its. And my wife said, that's crazy. And I said, look, put the house up for sale right now. They don't want us here. They're going to make stuff up. Well, let's go, let's stand up against them. Let's sue them. And I'm like, no, let's just move. Can you imagine being this kind of person? Let's just get out of here. I don't want to be close to it. And now I'm out in the country. And, I got a neighbor firing machine guns every day, and sometimes I hear him ricocheting around and stuff. But that's the price of freedom, because I can't live so far out in the middle, that there's nobody around me. I don't have the money to buy some Ponderosa. But quite frankly, it's the sound of freedom. It sounds like the neighbor has artillery simulators going off some days, though. But then I found out they're filming a reality TV show next door, so I guess that's what's going on. The point is that I'm digressing off into stories, as I always do. But look at this story. Holder, no cover-up in Fast and Furious, no effort to hide details of the operation. And Bill Clinton didn't have sex with that woman, Monica Lewinsky, and read my lips, no new taxes, and there are WMDs and anthrax in Iraq and all the rest of it. Fox News is reporting Attorney General Eric Holder vigorously denied a cover-up by the Justice Department. He's been caught perjuring himself, by the way. Operation Fast and Furious, telling a House panel investigating the botched, it wasn't botched, it was designed to ship guns in to blame the Second Amendment. Gun-running program that he had nothing to hide, and suggesting the probe is a political effort to embarrass the administration. But see, the globalists have News Corp in England with all their hacking and spying criminality, so Fox News dare not go for the juggler on Obama. After all, Rupert Murdoch gave money to Hillary Clinton and Obama. It's all just part of a staged left-right deal. There's no attempt of any kind of cover-up, Holder told lawmakers well into the hearing about whether he had been forthright in responding to requests of the House Oversight and Government Relations Committee for now a year, led by Chairman Darrell Issa, Republican of California. We're not going to be hiding behind any kind of privileges or anything, he said. Yeah, they're not claiming executive privilege. They're just saying we can't find all these documents. Folks, I've been telling the controlled prostitute media for over a year now. They were having press conferences in 2009 and 2010. This broke in early 2011 about guns into Mexico from the U.S., and that's why they wanted to ban semi-autos and assault rifles and how many guns you could sell. They were already doing fake stings at the Austin Gun Show with illegals, with fake IDs, with private sellers and sending them to jail. We told you this was happening before it was on the news because of our intel. And there were press conferences with Holder talking about the program, but not saying that they were the ones shipping the guns. So they've been caught lying. So has Mr. Napolitano. I mean, Madam Napolitano. Miss, Madam, Mr. We'll be right back. Monday through Friday, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Time. We are here live, back Sundays 4 to 6. All right, here's what I want to do. I do want to take some calls this segment. On any of the news items I've mentioned, any of the things I've gotten into, I'm going to cover a few more here in a moment. But what do you think about the story? And it's the top big link on drudgereport.com. It's from Infowars.com, another Paul Joseph Watson article. TSA trains Super Bowl hot dog sellers to spot terrorist. Viper search team to be out in force before Sunday's game. Let me go over a little bit of this for you. And she's going to be on the Jumbotron saying, don't trust your neighbors, only trust us that make money off the naked body scanners. They're going to grope every one of the poor idiots that goes in there. It's all part of your slave training. The TSA is now setting up checkpoints outside the airport on the roads coming in the parking lots. This giant power grab. Despite acknowledging there are no credible or specific threats to the safety of the 2012 Super Bowl Indianapolis on Sunday, the TSA is training thousands of fast food sellers, it's all part of the Stasi Society, to spot terrorists under the First Observer program. They've got the pastors trained to spy on you under clergy response teams, executives trained to spy under InfraGard. And it's incredible. I mean, I just paid somebody for like the 20th, 50th, I don't know, upteenth time I've bought books from them. And because the check was more than $10,000, they said they're going to hold it for weeks and have opened a big investigation. I mean, this is how America works. And they said, well, I need that money. I printed the books and sent them to them. And they tell them, sorry, Homeland Security, Patriot Act. And you go rent a car. Every time I go rent a car. Hi, where are you going? I'm here just going to San Francisco. Well, what are you here doing? And, of course, you're in line hearing them ask the same question everybody in front of you. It takes 10 times longer. And just to play along, I'm like, okay, well, I'm with the media. I'm actually going to Santa Cruz. This is when I flew a year and a half ago out to visit some affiliates and give a speech. Oh, really? Your media? What kind of media? I thought you were going to San Francisco. Well, yeah, I'm going to San Francisco first. Oh, and I go, listen, I know you think you're real smart and you're a little blonde and you're a little dress and you're a little secret agent that fantasizes about stuff when you watch cop shows on TV. And this is Patriot Act compliance, Homeland Security, and you're putting in a database everywhere I'm going and doing, and you're trying to assess me. Listen, I just want to rent the stinking car. You know full well it says History Channel paid for it. You know full well who I am already. And she goes, oh, but I do see the History Channel on their credit card, but I'm going to have yours too. And, of course, then she didn't charge them, charged me, and it got all snafu, and I ended up having to pay for the Suburban. But side issue, she showed me. And then she goes, is this your address? And I'd moved. And I just said, yeah, that's the address on my license. She goes, but this is your real address. And I said, just enjoy the police state. And I said, and drink lots of bisphenol A. I mean, again, little twinkly-eyed, just like Nazis. They all get off on it. They all get off on the enforcement. It's so sick, and I know exactly where it goes. Meanwhile, the underwear bombers put on the plane by the U.S. government on record. We broke that with eyewitnesses a month and a half before it was admitted in Congress. The Times Square bomber was protected by the government. Major Hassan was protected by the government. Look this up. They've declared national security, the Fort Hood shooter. The shoe bomber was protected by the government. This is SWAT guy, MI6, ran with patsies they set up as part of a drill, the 7/7 London bombings. That's come out Fox News, London Telegraph, BBC, years after I told you. It's all in my film Terror Storm. History government-sponsored terror. Al-Qaeda's been given Libya. Al-Qaeda's been given control now of areas of Egypt and the Muslim Brotherhood. They're now using Al-Qaeda, in the LA Times admits it, against Assad and the Syrians in a major Western proxy war to overthrow that, and now Hillary's saying invade. They're using them against Iran. And the point is that Al-Qaeda was created by the New World Order. They were used against the Serbs to take over Kosovo. They were used against the Russians, and Brzezinski's written 2 books, Zbigniew Brzezinski, bragging about it. And I've shown you the quotes. And so it's obnoxious when a cop pulls me over and says, you got any drugs or anything in the car? I'm like, no, I don't have the products publicly brought in and admitted in 6 different congressional commissions by the U.S. government. And it's the same thing when some power-tripping control freak wants to rub all over my chest and grab my genitals at the airport because Al-Qaeda, it's baloney, it's a hoax, and I can't take it anymore. I mean, that's why when they're like, go through the body scanner. No, there's radiation. No, there's not. I'm like, you guys have been caught lying. Johns Hopkins didn't say these don't have radiation. Congress is trying to pass a law to make you follow radiation rules right now. Don't sit there because they lied to you and lie to me. I'm not bad because I don't want to get in your microwave oven. And I'm not bad that I don't want you touching all over me. The airline pilots refused. They would get mad. They'd get in fights. They'd throw up. Other TSA workers, they'd make fun of each other's genitals so they got in fist fights. They're robbing people. Who do you think? People that are desperate for a job or people that want to get into a control freak operation. And they always, when you say no to them, they call over the attack dog who comes over and gets off on bowing up on people all day for their tiny little shriveled egos. Let me tell you, this gets to me. This gets to me. Last night, Ted Anderson flies in. We meet him at a restaurant, my wife and children and we have dinner. We drive out to my farmhouse. My wife drives home in the car. I ride over with Ted in the rent car he's in. And Ted goes, yeah, in Minneapolis, they've got all the scanners, turned off. I fly every month, as you know. I fly a lot, Ted was saying to me. And they're turned off in Newark. They're turned off in Minnesota. But he goes, everybody was being forced through them at Bergstrom in Austin. He goes, when I went through, I stopped and watched. And I said, yeah, I know, I've heard that. And you know why? It's because state reps got angry in Dallas having their kids groped. We almost passed laws against it, and they want us to know. And reportedly, they're trying to make people not even be able to fly and throwing you out when you say, I don't want to be groped. I mean, they're like, you don't like it? We're going to force you. They know Austin is the city council commission. The Transportation Commission said, remove them, they're dangerous, we don't want it. And the feds said, you don't have jurisdiction in our jurisdiction. So They know what's going on. They know exactly what's going on. And I'm going to tell you poor TSA people something, because I know you're not all bad. I have flown all over the country, and about half the time they're listeners, and I've had them say, you don't want to go through that, Alex. Everybody scan that one. Go through that one. Hey, like what you're doing. Hey, we're going to get unionized. I'm worried about the scanners. Can I have your autograph? I understand. I mean, I had a bunch of people that quit as TSA agents come to our protest, our storming of the Texas Capitol. We don't ask permission. We just storm it. That made national news, and good job. We almost got it passed. That the law is enforced, that you can't grope people. A sworn bonded state police officer or FBI agent who are actually sworn and bonded in the court and duly empowered in their limited powers cannot stick their hands down your pants unless there is an absolute emergency, life-threatening thing. All right, I'm already digressing. It's just totally lawless. That's why they created a new agency. And I mean, it's federal law. You've got to have a radiation officer and radiation monitors and badges around X-ray equipment. They just ignore that. And now they've got 7-fold increases in cancer at Boston, Logan, where they first put them in 9 years ago. Look it up. And when the TSA agents complain and want health care and want workers' comp, they're told it's a conspiracy theory, and there's a bunch of lawsuits, and then they quietly settle with them. But most of them die, so what does it matter? And they're getting cataracts, they're getting testicular cancer, and they're getting breast cancer. What tissues do you think it hits? I mean, look it up. 7-fold increase. I mean, I always wonder how there's no radiation badges in the past when they sit there and run them through with only light shielding around the X-ray machine. There's not a door closing. There's X-ray stuff blasting out of there on everybody. What about all this government obsession about wear masks on airplanes and have everybody's thermometer tested and face scanned for heat when the flu's there? But they have everyone at the most busy airports in the world, with people coming from third world nations with Ebola and every other disease and bubonic plague and rotavirus and all of this. And they have you take your shoes off and walk through it. I never had athlete's foot since I quit swimming in Dallas and playing football. I had athlete's foot constantly when I played sports. No matter if my parents bought me new shoes every 6 months, my dad said, put Desenex on, wear socks, change socks repeatedly. I had athlete's foot all the time as an athlete until I learned to leave my shoes on at the gym when I was, got out of high school and go home and take a shower. Never had athlete's foot again until the last 8-9 years with the taking the shoes off. And every time I walk through now, I have to go get my bag and I pull it right up. And every time I forget I got athlete's foot, I got to get a fresh pair out, take those socks, throw them in the trash, because they've got every mutation and variant of fungus you can imagine, especially in L.A. They got stuff that'll eat your feet there. I mean, I've got athlete's foot going through L.A. I don't know what it is. By the time you get home 4 hours later, your feet are bright red, skin peeling, stuff coming up on it. So I learned, I walk through, I take my socks off, I throw them in the trash, I put fresh socks on, loaded with Desenex. I mean, literally, it's a biohazard. When I'm leaving now to fly somewhere, I have to get ready for humiliation. I have to get in there, in the bathroom. My wife hates how it smells. I get the Desenex out, and I get the pair of socks I'm going to be using after I go through, and I go and put it in there and get it all ready, an antifungal, and have those socks. And then I have to go through the thing. They admit they don't change their stinking gloves until the shift changes. I watch them going in pants, going in waistbands. I mean, just these disgusting looking slobs that I see them going in their pants and rubbing all over. And then they come over with these gloves and I'm like, we're going to search you now. And I'm like, don't touch my genitals or I'm going to sue you, and change gloves. If you wish. Well, you want gloves to touch me, punk. Why do I have to have everybody else you've touched on me? And I only let him do it once because I wanted to get out of there, and he didn't touch my genitals, but he was rubbing on my chest. I've only had a doctor's maybe 4 times in my life when I've had checkups. I don't go to the doctor. Touch on me. And let me tell you, I didn't like it, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't like it one bit. And he was obviously enjoying it. You'd have to enjoy it, talking to me. And I'm just, I got to go right here. And I'm just like, oh, my God. I mean, this is a joke. This is a joke. And I got angry last night. We get out of the car. I'm taking Ted in the house. You show him the guest bedroom, everything. And he's going, what's wrong? I'm just nothing, the TSA. This morning I'm angry. I'm snapping at my wife and kids. And you know what? It's the TSA. It's like Jesse Ventura said. He said, I was wondering why I was getting so angry and why I was blowing up at everybody. But I'm normally not like that. And he goes, it's the TSA. It's the TSA. Because it's weird as a man to have laughing people who all know who you are, with Ventura when I've flown with him, rubbing on his genitals right in front of me. And he's just going, this is East Germany. I can't stand it. And they're going, I mean, this is what land of the free, home of the brave has turned into. This is what we are. And, you know, I'm tempted to drive out to Orlando, but I don't have the time to drive for 2-3 days. And then I just know cops are going to pull over the RV. I mean, it happened last time I just cannot be left alone by idiots in uniforms telling me they're keeping me safe when you're not. You're not. You may be a good person, cop, but you work for criminals. A German soldier may have been a nice guy. You work for Hitler. A Soviet soldier, I'm sure, was nice. You work for Joe Stalin. So you're the enemy. I'm sorry. This government's illegitimate, and I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I am angry, folks. I am angry. I mean, now, over this TSA and government thing, man, I've always been a really nice guy. But I feel like I'm 18 years old again, back when I wasn't looking for fights, but if you just don't cross me. And that's my problem now. And it's just an anger issue, and I'm praying to God to just give me some control, because let me tell you something. I can't take being a slave. And I'm getting mad. And I know you're getting mad. It'd be one thing if there'd just been a bank robbery and they knew it was in an area where there was only 2 escapes on highways, and if cops shut the highways down. Whatever. Run up to a checkpoint, searching all the cars. That's once a year. That's a specific thing. You don't, that's probable cause. That's an emergency situation. You don't shut the whole world down and say to go to a ball game, even high school games or anywhere. They're now groping people at UT football games. I had family go, no, don't you want to take the kids to a UT game? It's fun. I like football. I like UT. My grandpa went there and played for UT and was roommates with, who was the first Dallas Cowboys coach, played for Vince Lombardi? Whatever his name is. Tom Landry. I like football. The point is, I'm not going to go take my kids so you can grab their genitals. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Oh, I got all this other news. I mean, the head of the Justice Department is telling us, like we're morons, that, oh, I didn't lie. We're not hiding anything. And they're like, well, release all the info. Oh, we can't find it. They're caught lying. They're caught lying. But the Republicans are involved in pretty fast and furious stuff, so they can't fully go after them. They're just scoring political points. And that's why the corruption has become systemic. It is not land of the free, home of the brave, to have the hot dog sellers and the peanut sellers and the Coke sellers, Coca-Cola sellers spying on you. And it's everywhere now. Everywhere you go, they ask you questions. Oh, what's your TV for? And I'm like, you're supposed to ask me this and put it down on the computer? I mean, you go try to have a child, and they've got the head nurse there interrogating you. Everyone putting it in the health department computer right in front of you like you're stupid and don't know. You got plenty of money? Got a place to stay? Listen, I'm here paying money to have the kid here. Just everything is a prison with the corrupt, murdering government spies getting off on their little petty position. They're all imagining they're Jack Bauer. They're all imagining this stuff. I mean, I sat there when I had to fly out to Vegas to do some interviews with Ventura last year for like 30 minutes while 5 people in front of me. It was a different rental-car company, but same deal. It was all these rental-car companies all doing the same thing. While where are you going? What you doing? Oh, who are you visiting? Oh, let me ask you about that. Let me ask you. And when I got up there, I said, you know full well this is paid for by Time Warner. I know if you're giving me my rent car, and don't sit there and ask me questions, or I'm going to go get a cab. Okay? Don't ask me your questions. And the guy gets his manager and they go, no, let him go. And I looked around everybody and I said, you think this is what America's about? Getting 20 questions all day here? You think this is what it's about? This is what living in a third world / East German hellhole is. And I don't like it. And you know, on the subject of the TSA, it's a nightmare that's just going to get worse. You know, I got an RV. And so, well, I'll just drive around to affiliates in the country. I run into checkpoints on highways. They got them over 100 miles into the nation. The illegals are let right through. Citizens who've never left the country are screamed at like filth. The criminal government wants to break your will. They want to taser you for jogging in a park. They want to taser you for not answering their question and violating your Fifth Amendment. It's all about domination, and they teach the police that. And you know what? Cops, great. Go along with the system. They're going to dominate you. They're going to take your pension fund. They're going to take your house. And they're going to take a lot of your lives through their soft kill weapons and the food and water. Now, I've got a lot of other news here, obviously, that we need to go over as well. Speaking of serious danger to our society, the U.S. seeks to play down Panetta's Afghan comments when he said that they'll be pulled out by mid-2013. They always say they're going to be pulled out in a year and a half, 2 years. That's standard stalling. They want that $500 billion in opium money. Continuing, is Israel preparing to attack Iran? Washington Post. And now Defense Secretary Leon Panetta has a lot on his mind these days, from cutting the defense budget to managing the drawdown of U.S. forces in Afghanistan. But his biggest worry is the growing possibility of an Israeli attack on Iran. And then it goes on to say Panetta believes the likelihood is strong that Israel will attack Iran in April, May, or June. And now they're saying that Iran may attack the United States and Israel first. And they could attack on their own, or something could be staged and blamed on them. And I read to you the Brookings Institute and others putting out big white papers saying it'd be great to have a provocation. And we know Gulf of Tonkin was staged, a lot of other events were staged, and we know that big CFR member Gary Hart wrote a letter to Ahmadinejad 5 years ago saying, we will stage terror attacks and blame them on you, so you better do what you're told. Just type in Gary Hart letter to Ahmadinejad, and in fact, type that in, folks. It's Huffington Post is where he publicly published it. Open letter to him. So that's how dumb they think we are. Russia threatens to veto UN Syria draft. They're talking about actually having peacekeeping forces invade, kind of like they did in Libya to back up al-Qaeda taking over the country. I'm not a fan of Assad, but you're going to replace him with al-Qaeda? Oh, boy, I tell you. They just think we're idiots. I mean, they can't even get their script right. We've got to give our rights up because of al-Qaeda, but then al-Qaeda works for the globalist. Kurt Nemo's got an article at Infowars.com. Iran defiant, threatens retaliation over oil sanctions, and says they were going to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. The sanctions on the contracts are going to start hitting in the next 2 months, because contracts are always about 3-4 months out, and and of course they hit a month ago. Here's another headline: U.S. uses depleted uranium, makes graveyards in Afghanistan. Just incredible birth defects and problems going on there, according to medical reports coming out. Our own troops are coming back and having off-the-charts deformities and cancers. But the government hates your guts, so what do you expect? We're all just trash to the New World Order. Here's another article by Paul Joseph Watson, and it links to Stratfor and other intelligence groups. U.S. warns Iran not to fight back against Israeli attack. Can you imagine how outrageous it would be if Iran fought back? That's terrorism. In fact, that's what cops now say. If they punch you in the nose, don't even raise your arm, or it's assault. Goes on, a U.S. warship remains in Strait of Hormuz amidst simmering tensions. And they've told Iran through diplomatic channels, you will take these strikes or we will nuke you if you fight back. We'll be right back. You know what frustrates me so bad, again, about the TSA is it's an admitted federal takeover, violates 9th and 10th Amendment states' rights, 4th Amendment against unreasonable search and seizure, where a person's papers and effects are absolutely barred from being touched on. Doesn't matter. They're just criminally involved in a total revolution against the spirit of America. against basic freedom, against the Magna Carta, against everything dear, and they know what they're doing. And federally funded checkpoints all over the country, federally funded blood draws without proper warrants, then it's just rubber stamps, and now TSA checkpoints on highways everywhere. TSA has said on C-SPAN you're going to have to go through them to get a job anywhere, to have a driver's license, to be hired as a police officer. They are the federal goon force. And tyrannies under Stalin and Hitler and under Mao always use kind of a minimum wage thug potbelly force. Because in every society, old guard governments that were even oligarchical were afraid of big, powerful, out-of-control internal militaries. So they always created a esprit de corps and system, even in ancient Rome, where the military wasn't allowed to be involved domestically because the ruling elite knew they'd be overthrown by it. And so they teach checks and balances to the Praetorian class, and that you don't violate these rights, you don't do this, you don't fight your own people. So they can't get rid quick enough of all those checks and balances in police and military, though they have to a great extent. But if they create a whole new force, hire people that are control freaks, that low IQs, and tell them they're God, well, they'll do it. Hitler and Stalin and Mao opened up the prisons, hired thugs, street thugs, pedos, and it's the same thing today. Who else do you think likes to grab you and your wife's genitals?
Double drudge.
Oh, we have a double drudge now? Let me see that. This is fun. Because it's fun to be exposing the TSA and have the mega massive big sis taps hot dog sellers to hunt terrorists at Super Bowl. And then under it, red link, let's click on that. And again, this is the biggest link you can get on the internet. It's like the Super Bowl of internet. UN wants world tax to help the poor. Another Paul Joseph Watson article. I think Drudge likes Paul Watson. Paul Watson is a great writer. I like him too. Okay, and it just, again, it's like, boom, three-pointer, boom, three-pointer. Battling the New World Order doesn't get any better than this. Because the truth is, we are the new media. We are the real media. We're not going away. Now, it's a swarm of people here today because they're having a longevity conference here in town for the InfoWarsTeam.com crew. And this is about a revolution in liberty, about getting our health back, not letting them ban our supplements. I got into longevity about a little over a year ago, did a little bit of it, got some response, but wasn't committed. So I didn't promote it a lot. Knew it was good, but whatever. Then Aaron Dykes went on it, and in 6 months lost 65 pounds. My mother had incredible results, so she can exercise a lot more, lost a lot of weight. She says, I'll endorse it, and my mother's, doesn't want to go on air, but said she would endorse it. I haven't gotten around to getting her to do that yet. But the point is that, wow, I better really follow this, because I know it's real. That's why I was promoting it, but I wasn't following it. 2 months, 37 pounds lost. And I'm going to recap all this. It's not even about weight loss. Now, pharmacist Ben Fuchs, mainline pharmacist, understands the biology. He's going to be in here talking about this. But with him, they're all just hanging out in the studio. I said, why not have Dr. Corey Gold? He's a dentist. He's an inventor of a whole bunch of great supplements like Pollen Burst and others. And a lot of the other stuff that's in the Longevity line. Longevity has bought up a lot of these great companies. He really understands this as well. And MZ, who got me involved in all this, he's here. But Ted Anderson wants to come in. And boy, if you see old videos of Ted Anderson, he was never in bad shape, but he had knee problems. He's lost 35 pounds. He was correcting me. It's not 30, it's 35. And his cholesterol went from 300 to 160 on Longevity. He's going to show you those medical reports. It was his idea. He's going to show them to you here in a minute. Stay with us. Now, coming up in the third hour today, I'm going to get into lawsuit filed against government over assassination of U.S. citizens. ACLU demands information regarding a CIA kill list and drone strikes on Americans. Also, Climate Depot, read all about it. Al Gore's melting Antarctic claims refuted by reality. Climate Depot's A to Z. All these top scientists are coming out and saying the Earth's now starting to cool and that we actually want heating and that carbon dioxide is what we need on this Earth and it's not evil. So they have all this fake environmentalism to cover up the real problems that they're causing. Here's another one. Thousands wrongly labeled as criminals. This is out of the London Telegraph. More than 20,000 people end up getting picked up or arrested because of computer mistakes. I saw the same thing in the LA Times a month ago, where it was tens of thousands in California. And sometimes, one of the cases it said it took the guy almost 2 months to get out of jail. And it's because they had the name wrong. And he's like, I have no criminal record. Here's my license. And they're like, well, your license is now under this criminal's record. Very scary. So that's just some of the news we're going to get to on that front. Also, new report shows illegal aliens are leaving Arizona. Yeah, because the economy's falling apart. Also, tritium leaking in 48 of 65 nuclear reactors across America, reports U.S. NRC. That's the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Now, this is a question I keep asking. Why suddenly in Illinois, Nebraska, California, New York, 2 places in Canada, all over Europe, I showed you the articles yesterday, radiation levels just skyrocketing. Not just from Fukushima. Reactors suddenly, they're belching radiation. They're having power outages. What is going on? Now, I heard about, and I'm going to cover this in the third hour, some with Bob Chapman. I heard about this for years, thought that's ridiculous. But the scientists were saying that some would go into a cycle and that these space particles, different types of them, can actually cause problems, not just in the power generators, but in the nuclear reaction somehow. Since then, I've done some research on it, and it turns out that that may be one of the reasons that suddenly you're seeing all these problems. And there's a big article from When Technology Fails by Matthew Stein. I want to get him on. And it says 400 Chernobyls, solar flares, EMP, and nuclear Armageddon. And it goes through reactors where they admit have already had blow-ups and problems. And all the scientific papers, London Guardian, this is just, I've got to do a whole hour on this sometime, how this is already going on. This is already going on. And here's another one. Concerns grow over volcanic eruptions. USA Today. See, they used to think volcanoes blew up every million years or something, but look at all the civilizations that got destroyed by them. They used to think big, giant meteorites hit every million years. Now they're saying it's every 10,000 or so. You know, so a big article in USA Today about that. I'll cover some of that in the third hour. You don't want to miss that. More on Panetta saying Israel is going to strike Iran and all the fireworks that are going to come out of that. I mean, talk about a roll of the dice. Regardless of which side you're on or if you're just anti-war and don't want to see this happen. Pakistan's got 100 nukes. That could flip them over. I mean, this is cuckoo. Any way you slice it, we've got all of that. But I'm also about solutions here. And there's a lot of solutions. People are waking up. Over 90% of Americans hate the TSA and believe it's unconstitutional. In major polls I saw just last week, alternative media is the new mainstream media. So the mainstream media is teaming up, the old mainstream media, with the government openly calling for censorship. That's only waking people up faster. The government's passing laws saying we'll secretly arrest you. That's waking people up even faster. But for the next hour and a little bit into the next, we're going to be joined by Ben Fuchs, Dr. Corey Gold's coming in later, Ted Anderson, and MZ, if we can drag him in here. Because I was doing a lot of research, and I knew that our soils were depleted. And I knew that that's why people were obese, because they had to eat all these calories, even if it was supposedly healthy vegetables, just to get the trace elements and minerals, because most of the fields are not just devoid of the proper minerals and nutrients, but they're using toxic fertilizers that manipulate the growth of the plants, but where they have no value and actually have a bioaccumulated toxicity. The honeybees are dying. The wildlife that eats it. I mean, it's a bad situation, not just counting the GMO nature. So I'd gotten off most GMO. I was drinking more water, eating less, jogging 4 or 5 days a week, and I could lose about 5 pounds, and that was it. I couldn't detoxify. And about a year ago or so, Ted Anderson got me in touch with one of our affiliate folks who owns a few stations we're on and said, listen, Ted had started it, and he said, I'm losing weight. My knees were hurting, feel great. You ought to really try this. And so I knew it was good stuff. I knew it made sense. Started promoting it about a year ago. Didn't really follow it, though, because I've never been a vitamin mineral guy. And I'd taken vitamins before them because I guess I didn't absorb them, didn't do much. Aaron Dykes here, one of our writers and fill-in hosts and researchers, he went on it and followed what Ben Fuchs talks about, Pharmacist Ben, who's about to be here with us. And he lost 65 pounds. You've seen the transformative change in 6 months. And has incredible energy. It's just amazing. So I finally, about now, I don't know, 8 weeks ago, a little over 2 months ago, said, okay, I'm going to actually follow this. I'm going to actually do Tangy Tangerine twice a day. Instead of doing toxic coffee, I'm going to do a pollen burst. I'm going to take a whey shake. All the products are, again, are at InfoWarsTeam.com because they've got the best all right there in one spot. You can sign up and get a discount. You know, just pay $10, get a discount on the products, or you can just go there and buy them, as most people do. But it is a business opportunity. But that, for me, that's a side issue. It's the products, and they really work. Now, the only side effect is, because things like Tangy Tangerine doesn't have caffeine in it, but I'm crazed. The only problem is, it's like I'm 22 again. Or it's like old radio was 15 years ago, where I'm yelling, screaming more, getting aggressive. The only side effect is that I am crazed now, and the more now I can jog 8 miles instead of 4 miles. Now all of this is happening, and I just think everybody should find out more about Tangy Tangerine and all of it at InfoWarsTeam.com. And your purchase also supports our alternative media operations. And I invite our radio stations, which a lot of them are doing it, to sign up at InfoWarsTeam.com. And I'll voice ads for you and everything. And I think your stations should sell it. I know MZ's got a model where he could beat all the big guys for, a decade, 15 years with longevity, trying to put him out of business, selling longevity. And that's why they came to me with this and said, this will also help your stations. So I'm really sold on it. You've seen the change, 37 pounds in 2 months. Ben Fuchs joins us here. Ben, what is going on with Alex Jones? I mean, you're a pharmacist, I should say, by training. Go ahead.
Right. There's so many different ways we could take it, but basically you've been anti-domesticated. That's how I look at it. See, we're domesticated through our foods. We're made dumb through our foods. We're made weak through our foods. We're made docile through our foods. And what you're experiencing is changes in your biochemistry, specifically, it seems like, around estrogen, around insulin, and around the male hormone testosterone. Testosterone gives you virility. It gives you strength. It gives you power. It gives you the get up and go. Over time, we become resistant to hormones, specifically insulin, that reduces our testosterone response and makes us more passive, makes us more docile.
And that's what it is. My testosterone's up.
You resensitized your body to testosterone through the hormone insulin. And this is really the key. By dropping your insulin, you become more sensitized to testosterone. When we become insulin resistant, we lose our anabolic, our building edge. So the key to anti-aging and the key to wellness and the key to power and the key to vitality is resensitizing your body to insulin, the hormone insulin. And you do that by dropping your calories, dropping your intake of refined carbohydrates, upping your intake of micronutrients, and upping your intake of protein. And you're a living testimony to this. And I also want to say one other thing. People lose weight. I was joking around before we went on air. I said we should tally up the amount of pounds that everybody lost. It would be tonnage. I mean, you talking about Aaron lost 60 pounds. I get letters from people losing 70 pounds. Ted lost 25 pounds. You lost 37 pounds.
I think it's 35, yeah.
The point is the weight will drop, but we don't want to focus on the weight loss.
Yeah, we don't even sell this saying weight loss.
No.
It's funny. It's the ultimate weight loss. It doesn't say it.
You're carving up your body to where it should be by giving yourself good nutrition. You get more energy, you think more clearly, you have more get up and go, and you lose weight.
Yeah, let's say it's 8 o'clock at night. I got the munchies. I don't go eat a ham sandwich. I just have a Tangy Tangerine.
That's right, exactly. You need a straw for that.
That's what you're having right now.
Exactly. See, the point is that we develop these habits based on our need for nutrition, and we're getting the calories without the nutrients, as we talked about before. When we feel like snacking before bed, it's not calories we want, it's nutrients that we want. But our only option is caloric intake, so we have milk and cookies.
But why do I get crazed when I drink Tangy Tangerine more than a pot of coffee?
You call it crazed, I call it energized. Crazed is just a negative spin on it. You have more energy.
Well, no, but I am crazed naturally, so I think that's the effect.
That might be the problem there. But most of us just get more energy. We just get up and go. Don't you think that one of the most important, if people can have a health wish come true, don't you think it would be more energy? Don't you think it would be more get up and go? I mean, weight loss is important, but to me, it's the vitality, it's the zest. Health is not the absence of disease. Health is feeling great about life. Imagine if we all felt powerful and great about life. The disease, the weight loss, the markers, the blood markers like cholesterol and like blood sugar, they would take care of themselves. If we could take care of the zest part, of the energy part, of the vitality part, the numbers would take care of themselves. That's why I never talk about weight loss with Beyond Tangy Tangerine. I talk about feeling better, and that's what happens. Now, everybody who's lost weight, they notice the weight loss, but if you ask them, they will also tell you they have more energy and they feel better, and that's really what this is.
Which is the difference. And then other times when I force myself to lose like 20 pounds by hard dieting and exercise, it's grueling and my stomach hurts and I'm hungry.
Right, and you shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that. You should be loving exercise. I mean, the human body craves exercise. We secrete pleasure hormones.
No, I want to leave early now to go run again.
Right, because we secrete pleasure hormones when we're exercising.
And also, I want to stomp people. That's not good.
You just stop people and grab them?
Stomp people.
Oh, stomp people. No. That's the testosterone thing. You may need maybe we want to get you a little essential fatty acids or maybe some magnesium or something to kind of take the edge off.
No, I like it.
That's different.
All right, we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. No, I mean, it's just exciting. And I mean, being able to run 8 miles now.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's awesome. We'll be right back.
Awesome. That is awesome.
Already seen in the last 4 months. Prepared now. Go to 123survivalplan.com and learn which 37 food items you should hoard. Easy to remember. 123survivalplan.com. Again, that's 123.
If you're taking 1, 2, 5 or more nutritional supplements, please stop. Simplify your supplementation with Bio Superfood, the most advanced nutritional whole food supplement you can buy. Men, women, children, even Olympic athletes the world over have discovered Bio Superfood from BioAge.com. And now take just one nutritional supplement instead of many. The Bio Superfood formulas are whole food products composed with 4 of the most nutrient-dense algae found on Earth.
Now, Ben Fuchs is putting on an event with Dr. Corey Gold, MZ, Ted Anderson this weekend here in Austin. We'll tell you about that before this hour ends. Also, you can find the addresses of both events and more info at InfoWarsTeam.com. But Ted Anderson staying at my house last night, was not intending to even get him on air. We were talking about longevity and having a tangy tangerine. Or was it a pollen burst? I was tangy tangerine because it was at night. We gone out to eat before that. And Ted said, look at my cholesterol numbers. Because it was over 300. They were saying, we got to put you on Lipitor. You know, it's admitted that stuff's so bad for you. We've had medical doctors on saying it literally eats your brain. And Ted started only eating oatmeal and stuff, couldn't really lower it. And then he went on the longevity products and came back a few months later. It goes from 300 to, 160-something. There it is, Apple Valley Medical Clinic, blood test, all of it. We'll do a document cam for viewers. But Ted, tell us about this.
Well, I mean, as you can see, I mean, my triglycerides are at 368. My brother had bypass surgery, 3 bypasses when he was 42. My dad has stents in him. My grandfather died of heart disease, a heart attack. It was after his, I think it was 9th one in the 1970s. You walk into any medical clinic and have a physical, and they find 368 on your triglycerides, they're going to put you on statin drugs.
Now, there it is, 300 and something. If you go up, now 164.
Yeah, 164. After I got off the oatmeal in the morning and started taking a protein shake by Ben's recommendation, my cholesterol and also the tangy tangerine and essential fatty acids went from 368 to 164 in 1 year. I mean, you can't even hardly do that with their statin drugs.
Can you imagine if a drug did that? Can you imagine what they say if a drug did that? With no side effects and no toxicity except you feel better. That's the side effect.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But they used to burn women whenever they knew how to use all the herbs and things, and that was the old leech doctors. It's always been the establishment medical system wants to give you lead and mercury. In fact, they used to give Andrew Jackson mercury to get him up out of bed when he was really old, because I guess a poison will make you actually get up for a while, instead of, hey, why don't you just have nutrition that your body needs?
Right, exactly. I mean, I didn't know about this. I mean, personally, I've been walking around with a bum knee for how many years? They want to go in and do arthroscopic surgery to fix it, and eventually talking about knee replacement. I take Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Within 2 months, I'm walking without pain. I mean, a little bit of glucogel, they sell that product too. You find it right up on InfoWars.
And by the way, your dad, who has Alzheimer's, You were able to get him on it, and the doctor said no, and I brought that up to Ben, and then the Alzheimer's came back. I brought it up to Ben, and you said the doctors say, yeah, no vitamins.
That's crazy. But here's the thing.
You're saying no green vegetables, they tell
No
them.
green vegetables because of clot your blood has vitamin K in there. But here's the thing. You guys are surprised and amazed, and I can see why you're surprised and amazed. Think of me. I see this every day. I get the letters every day for years. Weight loss and cholesterol dropping and blood pressure dropping and people off their medication. I see it every day. I get letters about it every day, and I've gotten these letters for years because this is the way the body works. We're not sick. We're starving. We don't need to be fixed by any medical model. We need to be fed correctly with nutrition and nutritional supplementation and dietary strategies.
Well, I'm convinced, and I get to see those emails, and I know thousands of people are convinced along with you. And it's just amazing. I mean, Alex,
Yeah, but the proof's in the pudding. I mean, we ought to get Aaron Dykes in here. I mean, he lost 65 pounds, and now he keeps losing. I mean, it is insane.
And he feels better. And he feels a lot.
Oh,
you know what else, though, guys? You've decreased your risk of degenerative disease. You've decreased the likelihood of dying of a heart attack. You've decreased the likelihood that you're going to get cancer. You've decreased the chances that you're going to get a stroke. In addition to looking good, in addition to feeling better, in addition to losing weight, now you've dramatically cut your risk of degeneration as you grow older. And it's one thing to die early, but it's another thing to rot on the way down. And once you start taking care of your nutritional needs, not only are you going to increase your longevity and feel better, but you're going to decrease the likelihood that you're going to have one of these awful, awful degenerative conditions.
And Ted, I know it's a sad story, but you volunteered for me to tell it. I mean, your dad got to where he didn't really know where he was when you said fishing. And after, 6 months on longevity, on the tangy tangerine and essential fatty acids, in your own words, he knew who he was again, was having a good time.
Yeah.
But then the doctor tested the blood and said, you're not allowed to have vitamin K.
well, because
What happened when he went off of it?
he's on Coumadin. I mean, he lost his memory again. I mean, when he was on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, I came over for a party one day. He told me what my brother was doing and why he couldn't be there on time, what his wife was up to, all the short-term memory stuff that he just...
Your dad was back.
Yeah, he was back. He had his cognitives...
But the doctor, the God, says no.
Yeah, because...
How do they get away with that, Ben? I mean...
They're medical deities. We created a model through marketing and Edward Bernays and PR and spin and commercials and mass hypnosis. We've created this model that says that you do whatever the doctor said. How many times do you see these commercials? Ask your doctor. Make sure you ask your doctor.
What about doctors in the 50s saying smoke cigarettes, they're good for you?
Right. They did all kinds of stuff. They used to cure hemorrhoids by sticking a hot iron rod up your hemorrhoid area.
Oh, let's not talk about it. Well, the leeches, too.
All kinds of stuff. You know, the history of medicine is not pretty. There's
You know where lobotomies came from? The famous doctor, he would just jam ice picks in the brain laughing in front of his medical students with mentally ill people. If you don't believe me, folks, look it up. Ted Anderson, awesome. Thank you. We're going to get more testimonials with pharmacist Ben Fuchs with Corey Gold straight ahead. Okay, we are back live here, and this is a big way to fight the globalists. And it's a big way for patriots everywhere to get into business, waking others up. That's how the free market works. That's what I did going back 17 years ago. Making my own videos, funding my own organization, slowly growing it, so we can now challenge the globalists toe-to-toe. And I invite people to join InfoWarsTeam.com. It's $10 to sign up and get discounts on all the products, or just go buy them outright. I know I've got my family signed up. Because, again, I believed in it, knew it was good, so I was promoting it, but didn't really bite into it. I'm 2 months in, and I'll say this, I've lost 37 pounds. In about a week and a half, I really haven't lost any weight, and it is because I still eat a big steak or pigged out on Mexican food last night and ate 2 buckets of probably GMO chips. But I mean, just the eating a little less and drinking the tangy tangerine and pollen bursts, it's incredible. So I'm not even going the extreme stuff like Aaron Dykes says. And by the way, he says he's crazed now. And most of this stuff doesn't even have caffeine in it, most of these products. Now, what I'm breaking down here is the fact that if we get healthy and realize what's happening, if we have the building blocks we need and aren't starving for nutrients, not empty food, then the globalists, the system, is going to be in deep, deep trouble. And Dr. Corey Gold, who's a dentist, just like my dad, he's a dentist from UC San Francisco, product formulator for 20 years. A lot of famous products out there like Pollen Burst, one of my favorites. I used to drink coffee at 5 to do the nightly news, and it would just give me like this dirty, awake buzz and a headache later. Not Pollen Burst full of B vitamins and the rest of it. Wow. And it does have a little bit of caffeine as well, but formulated just right. He's also a team leader at InfoWars team.com, and he works with Longevity. In fact, some of his companies basically merge with them. So He's in studio with us, but I learned that, well, I already knew this, but he's down in the San Diego area, right by the reactor that released a bunch of radiation, and they admit that. And I was just mentioning at the start of the hour, and he was bringing it up, that he heard alarms going off in his neighborhood with this. So give us an update on what's going on with what happened in Southern California.
Yeah, my home is not too far away from San Onofre nuclear plant, which is on the coast between Orange County and San Diego. And we're just sitting in our house, my wife and myself, and all of a sudden these sirens go off. Like, what the heck is that? Like, once or twice a year they have these tests. But they always tell you, we're going to have a test next week, so we do it twice a year, so don't worry about it, just a test. There's no test. What the heck's going off? Do we get in the car? Where do we go? And all of a sudden they go away, and then we hear them again a few minutes later. What's happening? So I go on the internet, and they say, there's a leak at San Onofre nuclear plant, but don't worry, it's contained. Go about your own business. There's no problem at all. Everything's just fine. There's leaking radiation about 10 miles away, but don't worry about it. It's all good. But stay out of the sun, of course. You know, make sure you stay out of the sun. But nuclear radiation leaking, that's just fine. Just go about your business.
By the way, you guys hadn't heard this, and I don't blame you for kind of double-taking. I mean, you know I don't make stuff up, but you were like, really? I told you, Cass Sunstein, the White House regulations czar, said, first restrict and block their websites, but we should look at arresting. He wrote public papers for Harvard and the White House and Chicago Business School, 3 of them. You can go read them. But he said, infiltrate people that question, he said, including alternative health. That's conspiracy theory. And he said, people that say any sun is good is dangerous and damaging people. They should be arrested. And he said, if you question man-made global warming, you should be. But then literally, as you know, hundreds of mainline studies that moderate sun is essential. I don't need to know that. If I get a little bit down in the winter, everybody knows, go to the coast, get some sun, even if it's 60 degrees, get some sun. I feel great. It's like a drug. You know, as a dentist, as a researcher, as someone who's looked at this, why is sun so important, and why are they telling us it's bad? I mean, I know it's linked to getting cancer, not getting sun. And guys, type in Cass Sunstein, conspiracy theory, sun is not good for you. Or Cass Sunstein says sun is not good for you. I want to show them this because they were doubting, and I could tell. Go ahead.
No, I wasn't doubting you. I'll put that on Ben. But anyway, there's this whole disease out there.
No, I don't blame you if you do. It's unbelievable.
There's this whole disease called seasonal dysaffective disorder for people in Alaska and people up in Sweden. They get it where they're not in the sun enough. Their brains don't work well. Their brain needs sun. Your body needs sun.
Well, the studies, the eyes also take the light and does a chemical reaction.
Serotonin and melatonin, our connection to spirituality, our connection to mental well-being.
Northern Europe was having huge suicides, as you know, until now by law they have to provide sunrooms, and they put artificial sun in the buildings.
There's an intimate link between the sun and the pineal gland. In fact, the pineal gland itself has photoreceptor cells, so that it's literally like an eye in your head, and it's connected to the 2 holes in your head that you call your eyes. The light goes in through your eyes and communicates with your pineal gland and converts serotonin into melatonin.
The ancients knew that. Everybody knows that.
That's right. The ancient people did know that. They used to do these things where they bury you for 3 days and then open up the crypt, and you get this big hit of light after being building up all of these neurochemicals in your brain. And the big hit of light would go through your eyes and would convert the serotonin into melatonin, or the melatonin into serotonin instantly. And supposedly you'd have these initiatory reactions via the conversion. The connection between light and brain health is unbelievably important. And by the way, skin cancer and cancers that are related to the sun have a link to nutritional deficiencies, because when you eat nutrients, specifically phytonutrients and antioxidants, they're literally stored in your skin and secreted in your sweat and in your sebum, so that when you get the sun, you have antioxidant protection built in when you're taking your nutritional supplements.
Well, think about it. Any parent at home knows this. When your kid's not feeling well, what's the first thing you
get them some sun?
Well, you give them some sun, but also you look in their face, you go, your color doesn't look good. Your color doesn't look good because your skin doesn't have the nutrients in it. Your skin is devoid. Any parent
knows. But even mainline doctors in the old days said, get plenty of fresh food, water, and sun.
Right. Here's another thing. Phytonutrients, plants have these pigments, chlorophyll and carotenoids and different kinds of colored pigments that require adequate digestive system in order to be absorbed and put into the skin, specifically fat absorption. So when you have, you're absorbing your fats, you're breaking down the vegetables, and the phytonutrients are getting delivered to where they need to be delivered in the skin. If you have your gallbladder removed, if you have liver problems, fatty liver, any kind of digestive issue that compromises fat absorption, you are now at risk for problems with the sun because you're missing these nutrients in your skin.
And most people now are getting fats of the wrong kind. They're degraded fats because they're getting it from potato chips and French fries and pizza, which has fat in it. But that's
what about narcolepsy connected to not getting sun?
I haven't heard.
I've seen some brain chemistry reports on that. But obviously, we're designed to get some sun. That's what our skin's for. That's how we process the vitamin A, correct?
Vitamin A, your body makes vitamins from the sun. A person who's healthy, look at Ben. Ben is healthy. His skin looks vibrant, and that's because he's getting plenty of sun. Go to Colorado where people are getting plenty of sun. They look alive. Go up to Alaska. They could use some sun.
Well, you said, Alex said it right. Don't you feel better when you're out in the sun? How did we let people bamboozle us into thinking that this is some demon in the sky that's hell-bent on our destruction when we all know that we feel better when we're out in the sun? You go take a survey on people and ask them if they feel better when they're out in the sun, and across the board, people say...
But we're just like, it's like plants need sun. I mean, we need some sun.
We're designed to have it. Anybody who says that we're not supposed to have sun is telling you a fib.
By the way, did you guys find that Cass Sunstein says that they should censor people that say, there it is. Obama's information czar calls for banning free speech, no more opinions on content. And there it is. Blow it up so I can read it. Thank you. For radio listeners. Sunstein also cites the benefit of global... Sunstein also cites the belief that global warming is a deliberate fraud as another marginal conspiracy theory to be countered by government action. In reality, the majority of Americans now believe that the man-made explanation of global warming is not true and that global warming is natural, according to the latest polls. I guess you didn't find the part where he says... because, I mean, it's in his paper. He says, I know Paul Watson wrote about it. He says, it says that it's a lie that you need sun. So that's the part about go after folks that say global warming isn't real.
Well, yeah, I love the fact he has sun in his name. Isn't that hysterical?
Oh, yeah, and then, I get it.
You can't have sun. I can't think of, well, they're trying to make the most basic things. If they can tell you the sun is bad, then what else won't you believe? I mean, when they can take that away from you, like being in the sun is a bad thing.
What about the UN 2 years ago at Copenhagen? People were pointing out the sun's driving climate, not us. And they had a vote and said the sun does not affect climate.
Well, it's a good thing they voted. Yeah, because
the sun doesn't affect climate.
Yeah.
Is that what they said?
Okay, guys, type in UN votes. It says sun does not affect climate. You're not going to believe me.
That big nuclear reactor out there isn't affecting anything. I guess not. It's like why does it get cold at night? Because the sun's gone. It's, yeah, it affects climate just a little bit.
Now you were talking about mainline medical doctors are good people. They're just ignorant.
They're indoctrinated into a system that tells them how to think. And because of that, they come in there with good intentions. They want to do the right thing, but they're told the right thing is something else. And because of that, that's what they do. If you get in a car accident, you want to see a physician right away. They know how to fix bones and take care of you. They're great at critical care. But when it comes to preventative medicine, they're told a whole story and a mythology, and they bought into it because if they don't, they're not in anymore. They're on the outside.
And they don't make money. I mean, if they tell you, hey, this nutrition will reverse this, then the big medical companies that finance the medical schools aren't going to give them money.
But the average doctor doesn't even know any of that. He's not tied into a big money in the medical school. He's just tied into wanting respect of his peers and believing what his teachers tell him is true. So if all you hear for your whole life is this way of thinking, that's what you adopt.
Also, we've abdicated. We've voluntarily given up responsibility for our health, and we've created a vacuum in a sense, and the medical people have just taken up that role. Medicine should be about heroic measures. If you have a heart attack, if you get hit by a car, if you need stitching up, and it does wonderful work in that regard. But somehow they've taken on a role that should be ours as individuals.
Well, they're trying to take control of the whole society. I mean, the technocrats above them say that. They want to make us sick so they can then sell us what allows us to live.
Well, they're managing things now. It's not about helping you get better. It's about how we manage this.
Well, it's a binary illness. The big pharma, the system, the bad food, the GMOs, the additives give you the illness, and then they give you the treatment.
Well, we're via nutritional supplementation, via dietary strategies, via lifestyle modification, we have so much power. We can do so much to take the ball back into our own court to restore our health. It shouldn't be the medical model's responsibility to make us better. It shouldn't be the medical model's responsibility to keep us healthy. Unless we have an accident, our day-to-day health is our responsibility, the responsibility of parents for their children, and the responsibility of individuals themselves. And to me, they're just taking on, we've created a vacuum.
But the government's fostering that. Look in Chicago, where if you bring your own lunch to school, there's some schools where they take your lunch away and throw it in the garbage, even though the parent packed the lunch, because they say, well, we don't care that you packed the lunch. We don't care that you're a parent. We're throwing the garbage because this is what your kid's going to eat. Yeah. So the government's becoming the parent.
That's right. Well, there's been a nanification. It's the nanny state. It's this idea that we can't do it ourselves, that we have to have somebody else take care of it.
And they make you weak. Of course, we need the government to protect us from everything, even from our own thoughts, even from our own food.
Well, that's why in those nanny state cities, they take the guns, the crime rate goes up. It doesn't make you safe. The cops can't protect you all the time.
No, but they get you dependent to the point where you need someone else to take care of you. You're not supposed to think for yourself. I mean, even in school nowadays, excellence is breeded out of you. Excellence is breeded.
No, they admit that. You're right, Doc. Now, Dr. Corey Gold, what woke you up?
You know, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm always been counter to a lot of things. I'm always a contrarian. When everybody's talking about one thing, when everybody's thinking the same thing, somebody's not thinking. And I think very early on, I was listening to a few of the alternative thinkers out there and said, you know something, there's something organic about that rides in my chest. I just can't not listen to that message and hear it. Because sometimes when the truth is out there, it rides with your heart and you go, there's something that guy's missing.
Well, your subconscious brain's more powerful. It knows bull.
Well, yeah, and also then you start saying, well, wait a second, why do I think what I thought before? Well, just because everybody's telling it to me doesn't mean it's accurate. Maybe they just heard from somebody else and they're repeating the same bad thing around. And so I started reading and going to school, and in school they teach you how the body works, and when you start saying, well, why don't I just give it what it needs?
Right. That's what we said in pharmacy school.
Right. And so when you start saying, why don't we just provide it what it needs? It doesn't mean nothing ever will go wrong.
Right.
But why should we assume it will go wrong? Why don't we try to fix, I take care of my car. A lot of people take care of their car better than they take care of their body because they know exactly what to do. I change my oil every so often. I do this every so often. But they don't know it with their own bodies because they were trained not to know.
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head. It's this detachment that we have from our own bodies that allows us to go to some outside authority to tell us what's wrong with us. Most of us don't really feel inside our bodies. We don't know where our pancreas is. We don't know what our liver does. We don't know about our skin. So we feel somehow detached and disconnected, and that allows us to go to a doctor and say, hey, you tell me what's wrong with me. Hey, you fix me. So it's this idea that we have to become reacquainted with our bodies. We have to become reacquainted with how our bodies work.
But, I mean, the best way to describe this is, as you know, breast cancer off the charts. Right. U.S. is the highest in the world, thousands of percentile what it was 50 years ago, spreading all over the Western world, wherever we follow this modern GMO, tainted food, additives, all this garbage that we're just told is the way it is. And they're only talking about how to find a cure for it once you get the breast cancer. Right. They're not asking, why is it exploding?
Right.
Yeah, everybody's walking to find a cure. Why isn't everybody walking to find the cause?
Kentucky Fried Chicken sponsors the race for the cure. I always found that pretty interesting.
We should find the race for the cause.
Race for the cause. I
know this. I can eat one piece of Kentucky Fried Chicken as a scientific test, one drumstick, days of headaches, feeling dirty. I mean, just grungy. It's got so much MSG. Well, you know the story of MSG. Tell them.
Right. Well, MSG, monosodium glutamate, is it's a very fascinating story. The Japanese pioneered it so that they could feed their soldiers the crappiest food ever, and it would taste good. MSG is an excitotoxin. It makes your brain excited. It makes your brain happy. So you'll eat Spam, and your brain will go, yippee! Wow. Exactly. It makes your brain happy and excited. So they figured, well, put it in everything, and it allows you.
These additives are artificial drugs.
Basically, they make you think that you're eating a filet mignon when you're eating Spam.
Oh, well, you're a pharmacist. I know on average, they teach them more than doctors about the metabolic system with this. What is MSG doing?
MSG, monosodium glutamate, is classified as an excitatory neurotoxin, meaning it stimulates the brain to make it think it's really happy and really excited.
Just like other poisons like methamphetamine.
Now, you have excitatory neuropeptides in your brain. That's a normal part of brain chemistry. The problem is when you eat lots and lots of them, these excitatory neuropeptides are regulated tightly, as they should be, because if you have too much of them, they're toxic. The problem is we're getting them in all of our foods, Kentucky Fried Chicken and fast foods and Spam. And so it's the amount of these excitatory compounds that makes them toxic.
And then your body gets used to them, and when you go back to eating foods that don't contain them, they don't taste as good to you anymore because your body's saying, wait a second, I need a drug to feel like my food tastes good. This tastes bland to me. What is it? It's regular organic food. Well, it doesn't taste good to you.
That's what my dad used to tell me when I was a kid. He goes, you don't need the sugar cereal. He said that makes it to where you can't taste it. Chew it, and then just chew the regular wheat cereal. Then you'll be able to taste the sugar. And I tried it. You chew it a bunch, then it suddenly gets sweet.
That's exactly right. If you suck on any kind of piece of bread and let it sit in your mouth, you will taste sugar. That's right. And the problem is that we become, just like we become dumbed down to excitatory neurotransmitters, we become dumbed down to insulin or to sugar, and we need more and more sugar to give us that high. So that's what we were talking about earlier, about resensitizing your body to the sweet taste and resensitizing your body to insulin.
Well, and that's one reason why people are hungry all the time, because their body doesn't have any nutrients. So the body says, wait a second, there's a disconnect here. I've been eating a lot, but I'm still hungry. Why is that? And it's because you're not getting any nutrients. You're getting lots of calories.
Eons, whenever we got calories, we got nutrients. I mean, this whole modern way of eating is only 100 or 200 years old. For thousands and thousands of years, for even millions of years, when we got calories, we got nutrients. So the body sees calories, it's wondering where the heck the nutrients are. It sends us out for more calories.
And Big Pharma, that owns the big food companies, they industrialize the food, they roll it out, they put their petrochemical additives into it to addict us, because they're all drug pushers, like crack dealers who can put the best crack on the street, just like cigarette makers with additives. They're all competing. One more segment with you guys, then I want to bring MZ in, and I'm going to tell folks about events in Austin. Find out more at InfoWarsTeam.com. Now, the really informative stuff's going on during the break. Dr. Corey Gold, you were bringing up, Ben was saying, hey, bring up, the Nazis and the Soviets on record put fluoride in their work camp water. That's on record if you look it up. But then you were bringing up the fluoride in the water. All these, the states now, because cities are removing and are saying, okay, it's the law. That violates the Geneva Convention, the Nuremberg Code. You can't forcibly drug somebody. Now they're talking about lithium in the water.
Absolutely. There's government agencies out there and panels out there talking about now saying some people aren't feeling happy all the time. Therefore, having negative emotions is bad. We might want to put lithium in the water. Therefore, no one will ever be unhappy.
Zombies.
Yeah, well, because having an emotion is a bad thing. You shouldn't have emotion. So let's put lithium in the water. And some people might be a little aggressive. Let's put some fluoride in the water. Or remember during the war they used to put saltpeter. Let's put things in the water. Let's put things in food, to make sure that people don't have emotions that might not be the emotions.
And then take the iodine out, and then all these women have thyroid problems because the iodine isn't there, so the fluoride's able to get into the thyroid.
And by the way, the fluoride is specific for the pineal gland, that gland in the center of your brain that's responsible for your spiritual connection, that is involved in serotonin and melatonin production. Dreaming and higher consciousness. Fluoride is specific for the pineal gland.
And so if you can take religion out of everything, because if you start giving some drugs that make you not have that emotional attachment to the world and to spirituality, then who are you bonded to, which is the state? And to some degree, I think a large portion of this is who should be your God, which is the state.
No, that's it, folks. There's going to be an event here in Austin. There's other events across the country with InfoWarsTeam.com. But bottom line, go try out the Tangy Tangerine, the Pollen Burst. I also like the Rebound that's been endorsed by a professional basketball player who loves it. A lot of professional basketball players, others say that they would have already been retired, but because they were never getting the right nutrients, they were just giving them salts and things like that. But again, if you go to InfoWarsTeam.com, you can find out about Saturday, February 4th. Come one, come all, 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. at the Crosspoint Church, 5703 McNeil Drive, Austin, Texas, 78729. And there's going to be a lot of folks here. Dr. Corey Gold. There's also going to be pharmacist Ben Fuchs, MZ. Ted Anderson's going to be speaking. Topics like heart disease, cancer, skin diseases, diabetes, polluted water, fast food, lifestyles, blood pressure, Fukushima, digestive issues, obesity, and more. Again, that's all going on. Find out more at InfoWarsTeam.com. In the few minutes we've got left in this short little segment before we get into other news and get other folks here on the air like Bob Chapman and then take some calls later. Anything else you guys think you should add for people out there?
Yeah, this is one thing I want to say. I hate willpower. I don't have any willpower. What we're going to talk about at 7 o'clock at the Crosspoint Church this Saturday is how to hack into your brain's chemistry so that you don't need to fight yourself away from the buffet table, so that you'll naturally not want the pizza. And that's the key. If you have to go against hardwiring in your brain, you are bound to lose. But if you can figure out how to hack into that chemistry by giving yourself good nutrients, by making sure you're getting good...
The globalists hack us with false stuff to make us weak. We just use what God gave us.
Nutrients, exactly. You can figure out how to hack into your brain using good nutrition and using good dietary strategies. You don't need any willpower. The weight will drop off and you're going to feel better.
He absolutely said it right. Your body's an amazing chemistry set. It can, if you give it the right ingredients.
That's right.
It can
Hey, I hate to bring this up because it's sad. Look at Ted's dad. He was back from Alzheimer's, and the doctor said no, and within a month didn't know who he was again. I mean, it's incredible. And the doctor's God, so okay.
Oh, and you hear stories. I mean, look at all the people around your offices here who have just dropped weight by having proper nutrition. Because they weren't as hungry, and they were getting they were having more energy, feeling positive, dropping weight without having to fight it.
And decreasing their risks of degeneration down the road.
Absolutely.
InfoWarsTeam.com. There's hundreds of great products there. I'm promoting the ones I believe in that I've used personally, but I'm told the others are even better, many of them. So go check it out. InfoWarsTeam.com. There's also a toll-free number to call if you want to get involved. All right, coming up, the Secretary of Defense says Israel is going to hit Iran. It's big news. What is that going to look like if that does happen? All I know is they're going to put TSA on the streets and try to grow up my children, and it ain't happening. While the borders stay wide open. Also, we're going to get into the latest on Fast and Furious, the latest on what Holder is up to, and the Super Bowl. I personally am boycotting it because now they've turned it into a TSA grope fest and turning the hot dog sellers to be spies. Now, Michael Zwerling, known as MZ, owns a couple of great stations out in California that I'm on. And he introduced me to the longevity products. I know they're great, but it took me a few months to even start trying them. And I did, and you know the whole story. But there's another angle to this. I'm just saying try the products because they're great, and it supports our operation, and it really works, and it's revolutionary against the globalists. But, Michael, just briefly, people can also sign up and be distributors of this, and this is now one of the, and I don't even call this MLM, because all it is a way to have distributors, and it really works, and it's just growing and growing, and been around 15 years, and is now one of the biggest and only really successful ones, and that's why it's the only MLM I've ever been involved in.
Well, it's a great organization. I've been involved with it for 15 years now, ever since its inception. You know, it's made it possible for KSCO and KOMY to be true independent radio stations with a heart and a soul and a personality. Whereas most of the radio stations these days, Alex,
robot drones.
Exactly. Yeah, all they are is conduits for programming for big large corporations. And
your stations are amazing. You got some great syndicated stuff like my show, but also just all the locals. It's wild.
Yeah. No, we've got characters really gravitate to to Santa Cruz and the Monterey Bay area, and we sort of take advantage of that, you know. But, yeah, in fact, very recently, the most successful talk radio station in the country, KGO in San Francisco, died. The corporate suits who own KGO now, who are more Wall Street bankers than broadcasters, decided to put a bullet in the head of KGO.
I was talking to Mancow, and I went and looked the numbers up. He was making them like $5 million a year profit. Back before the Y2K stuff and all that, he was making them something like, it was, I think, 1 year, $25 million. They still, just because it got bought up by a conglomerate, fired him. I mean, he's back syndicated and stuff, but tell folks how what they can do at InfoWarsTeam.com.
They can sign up to either use the products, or if they want to get into a business for themselves, and it's a really inexpensive business to get into, it's a one-time $10 sign-up fee to get a distributorship that you can use to promote using new media, which is, you know, the internet. There are no barriers to
YouTube, your local radio show, radio affiliates are signing up, a bunch of them, and really loving it.
Yeah, yeah. What started in 1996, we had Dr. Wallach, who owns the Longevity Company. We put him on and started syndicating him to other radio stations around the country, and each one of those radio stations who carried Dr. Wallach became distributors for our company.
And I know a bunch of those that are still going, like the one in Kansas City, just doing a great job with it.
Sure, exactly. You know, a lot of stations have been with us for a long time, and once you get the feel for residual income, you won't ever want to do anything else. I mean, it's almost like getting royalty, getting reuse fees over and over and over again. This is a wonderful, wonderful business to be involved in. And like I said, it's kept my radio station going so that I can do this to the big guys. You know?
And there's also a toll-free number. We got a great folks at the InfoWarsTeam.com there that'll take your call and answer your questions. But whatever you do, it's all about health. Get the pollen burst, the tangy tangerine, the rebound. We only got 20 seconds, MZ, but what's your favorite product from the Longevity line?
Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Yeah, it's real easy. It's a powder-based. It's right here.
It's got everything in it. So, folks, go there. It's got the number and the email to MZ, InfoWarsTeam.com. We'll be right back. All right, we're now into hour number 3. I want to give the number out. I was going to do it the first hour, but ran out of time. So you can talk to Bob Chapman with your financial or global questions. He can talk on any subject. Been fighting the New World Order for almost 50 years. His website's theinternationalforecaster.com. But I want to go over a lot of news to get his brief take on it as well. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231. But I do want to get to one of our top stories that's also one of the biggest stories in the country right now. And by the way, the Twitter bomb did work you did yesterday. It made our story about the naked body scanners in the top 10 on Twitter. It didn't really do that on Reddit, but hey, first, if you don't succeed, try again. And of course, it is the top link on Drudge right now, the biggest link on the internet, the creme de la creme, the big kahuna, the Death Star level media power to set the agenda. I guarantee the globalists don't like this. Big Sis has responded to Drudge linking to this stuff repeatedly before. Big Sis taps hot dog sellers to hunt terrorists at Super Bowl. Amazing. I love how he takes our headline and makes it even better. That's who we learned from. It might have been Curl over there, one of the guys that does a great job with him. TSA trains Super Bowl hot dog sellers to spot terrorists. Viper search teams to be out in force before Sunday's big game. And, I make jokes about this, but it's not funny. All over the country, truck drivers, barbers, everybody. Doctors. My dad was approached by Homeland Security to spy on his patients. And the guy had a badge and cards, and my dad couldn't believe it. It was one of his patients for over a decade. So he made calls, and it was real. And then he thought it was because he was my dad and was freaked out and went and talked to the other dentists. They're like, no, we got visits at home by separate agents. This is last year. They're everywhere. I mean, it is... for what? What? Well, I guess if they attack Iran... there might be some real terrorists, but none of it has to do with Muslim terrorists or whatever, or foreigners. It's all about gun owners, libertarians, conservatives. And they're creating this giant grid of just, and now when you fly, you don't just get groped or microwaved. They ask you questions, and you better answer them. It's pathetic. It's a total overthrow of our system. I'm going to get Bob Chapman's take on that in a moment, but I got to get to this because it concerns the unborn. Even if you're for abortion, you need to understand that it was created by eugenicists who wanted to kill black people. That is modern abortion, Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger. They said, how do we kill these black weeds? You can read her quotes. It's on record. Look it up. And they said, we hire liberal blacks. We get them to be our front people. We sell it as women's rights. That's how we'll reduce the population. Now, Hitler was for abortion. I just want you to know where the modern movement comes from. And I don't like my tax money. In fact, I moved. This was the final straw. I moved out of Travis County. My office is still here. But I moved my home out of Travis County. It's the only county in Texas where they take massive amounts of money from you, property taxes and the hospital district, and give it for abortions. And women come from all over the country now to get abortions here in Austin, paid for 100% by the government of Travis County. Planned Parenthood has fundraisers. They suck money out of the government, everything. And it is a Nazi organization. But my point here is, after cutting ties with Planned Parenthood, the Komen Foundation donations up 100% for the fight breast cancer. And they said that they're cutting it off because they've got word that Planned Parenthood is under criminal investigation. Oh, you bet they are. All sorts of criminal stuff going on. Now continuing with the babies and the rest of it and pressuring women to have abortions. They're not there to counsel you. They're there to pressure you into it. But I wanted to play this clip from CNSnews.com. Pelosi, Girl Scouts' relationship with Planned Parenthood, very valuable. When you put your child in Girl Scouts or Brownies or Boy Scouts, which were all great organizations previously, you're being taught anti-gun, anti-family, anti-abortion, anti-America garbage. I mean, and just look into it. They work for Homeland Security. They actually train the kids. This is in the handbooks. Some people rebel and don't teach it. Doesn't mean that there aren't still some good ones out there. Maybe you should go join and run it yourself and then subvert the globalist and not teach this Nazi garbage, globalist garbage, whatever you want to call it. But the point is, it's being taken over almost completely. Here is Nancy Pelosi on the Girl Scouts, where they teach them how great abortion is. Here it is.
The Girl Scouts has had some ties to Planned Parenthood. Do you think that's a valuable relationship to have, like working together?
The Girl Scouts have relationships with many organizations, and yes, I think they're all very valuable.
Okay. Thank you.
That's enough from that witch with her fake smile. Now, let's go to another clip of Pelosi. She said this a bunch of places, but she says contraception will reduce costs to the states and to the federal government. That's why we have 1.3 children for every 2 people now and can't replace ourselves, so they're going to cut off all the Social Security and euthanize your hind end. Societies that don't match the last generation die. In fact, right now, many actuaries and experts on population say it can't even be reversed. Let's play this last clip and get Bob Chep. Oh, it's not ready? That computer crashed? We're getting new computers. We've got old Radley PCs cobbled together with Linux systems, and we got this has got Windows on it. But we don't have that clip because we had it at the beginning of the show. All right. The point is that all of this is going on, and they're in there in the schools, they're in there in the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, telling girls get your Gardasil, telling them how great abortion is. All of this is being pushed on and on and on, and it's wrong. It's wrong, and it's time that we stand up and say, stop taking our tax money. It's time we say, stop using our own money to kill kids. If you know, it's one thing if you want to go out and have this abortion or whatever, and I understand it's a hot-button issue. All right, we don't have the clip. Let's go to Bob Chapman. Okay, Bob Chapman. We'll get to that clip later. You can just type it in and find it, for heaven's sakes. Bob Chapman of the International Forecaster, what do you make of the TSA training everybody to be spies, rolling out at checkpoints on the highways? It's all coming true. Secret arrest of Americans announced. Secret killings of Americans announced. I mean, there's no more denial, is there, Bob?
Absolutely none, and it's something that you've been talking about for a long time. And I think your reference to Nazism, National Socialism, is the perfect one, and that was followed up during the Cold War in what used to be Eastern Germany. And when they took the wall down, they immediately grabbed their best propagandists and people who are specializing in spying of one kind or another. And one of the most unbelievable things was that Marcus Wolf, who was the head of Stasi, I used to spy against them, and this guy, it was a monster. I mean, he was responsible for millions of deaths, and they didn't do anything to him. And all I can say is, based upon that, is he had to be with them all the time. But the professionalism of the people who were into spying, like, they found out after the wall came down, I guess 2 or 3 years later in their surveys, that about 70% of the people in Eastern Germany were spying on each other. Now, it's not funny, I know, but that's an incredible amount of people. And whether they paid them or not, I don't have those details. But this is just like that. And it's going to get a lot worse. It's going to be so that you don't want to discuss anything with anybody because he might be paid or whatever by the U.S. government.
Well, Bob, we know what's happening. The idea is intimidate us like our normal political speech is somehow dirty and bad so that we don't want to talk so no one hears us. I say up it and get even more flamboyant. Banner hangs, bullhorning, in their faces, calling them out. Don't be afraid of little snitches reporting on you not being a traitor scum. Again, it's this idea that we're bad and everybody's watching us. And to create this chilling effect. I say counter their ice with fire. The fire of the human mind and tongue. What do you say, Chapman?
The same thing. Go get them. confront them. And there's a lot of ways to do it, the ones that you mentioned, and of course on the program, and in the written word as well. We got to go after them on this. It's outrageous. I mean, in the streets, body scanning people going into a football game. This madness. And so you're absolutely right. It has to be pursued. There has to be a program set up somehow that we can pursue them on a directed basis.
Now, Bob, we did find that clip. We had it duplicated under two names in the computer system. Here it is, Pelosi on CBS saying, yeah, we need to fund Planned Parenthood, contraception, abortion. And she responded to it later in other clips saying, yes, it saves money to get rid of people. Really, I thought it meant we didn't have another generation and we had to euthanize the old folks. I thought that's what it meant, you witch. Here it is.
Hundreds of millions of dollars to expand family planning services. How is that stimulus?
Well, the family planning services reduced cost. It reduced cost. The states are in terrible fiscal budget crisis now, and part of it, what we do for children's health or education, and some of those elements are to help the states meet their financial needs. One of the initiatives you mentioned, the contraception, will reduce cost to the state and to the federal government.
So no apologies for that?
No apologies, no.
We're going to come back with Bob Chapman on that, and that was ABC. She also said similar things on CBS. There's a bunch of these clips. And she said later, yes, I mean abortion. So abortion, killing people, not having new generations is the answer. And they're like, well, these are poor people that just end up in prison. Oh, really? You mean the ones you ship drugs into, the government? We'll get Bob Chapman's take on that, Iran, the economy, and a lot more in your phone calls. Stay with us. All right, your calls are coming up. Janice, Noel, Chip, Freedom Lover, Michael, and others, and Michelle. We've got the new numbers on current co-sponsors for H.R. 459 to audit the Fed. It's up to 199. All they need is 218. We didn't get a full audit last time because the Senate played games. But 10 years ago, Ron Paul couldn't get one co-sponsor. And so even though Ron Paul leaves office, whatever happens, now this movement's alive. Now people know. In fact, Aaron Dykes was showing me another document, a new article written by Zbigniew Brzezinski about his book coming out. And it's all about how the global elite are in trouble and how there's a global awakening. I know we covered it on the Nightly News a few nights ago when he filled in. But I'm going to cover that when we come back with Bob Chapman and then your calls. But, Bob, I want to get into the admission of QE3, gold going back up, all these economic numbers coming out, what this signifies, the EU dictatorship over the sovereign countries. But and then we'll get into that Brzezinski news. But things are just getting wild. Give us your breakdown on what's happening right now in the economy.
Well, I think we're seeing an extension of money that's been available by the Fed through the banking system that wasn't expected. It's being called QE3. We predicted it. And this time, they're giving money to the banks, taking their bad bonds away from them, putting on the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve. And they are telling the banks, look, you go out there and buy treasuries, agencies, and also make more loans than you have been making so that we can keep this thing going sideways at worst. And we are also seeing a displacement of funds. And this is very interesting. It's something very few people would catch, even the pros. What's happening over in Europe, the U.S., the Federal Reserve, lent the European Central Bank $1 trillion, which can be made into 10 trillion, which I won't go into. And it was illegal. And the word is now 523 banks have taken in close to 800 billion. And they sent it all back digitally to the European Central Bank. But a number of those banks that received that money are using it to buy U.S. treasuries. And that funding process of the money going into the U.S. treasuries assists the Federal Reserve in the sense that they don't have to buy as much. So that relieves the burden, monetizes the money, But on the other hand, not only do the banks in Europe buy the bonds, but they can then take the bonds to the ECB, and they can use them as collateral on a 3-year 1% loan. And so what they're doing here is, you might call it Ponziing, but what they're doing is they're creating more money that you'd never know about unless I told you. How much? I don't know yet.
And then they hoard it for themselves and then loan it back. We give them money and back it up and are told how we're in debt to them and how we have to have higher taxes and lower standard of livings. And then we give it all to them. They loan it back to us at huge interest and then grandstand as our saviors when they're publicly criminals and ran the whole scam. I mean, it is amazing how ignorance of the public of finance and layering of Ponzi schemes has allowed them to do this.
Well, I'm going to go one step further. I don't think 75% of the professionals have figured out what they're doing. And this is not going to be front page news because I don't get on the front page, and I quite frankly have not seen anybody else write about it. But they will, and hopefully lots and lots, and better than I. But you are asking about the economy in America, so some of that money's coming in to augment whatever they spend in QE3. What will it be? $800 billion to $1.3 trillion is the estimates. We don't know until we get there. But the money is going to make the economy rise. How much? Well, they would have had a 1.5% minus to 2% minus GDP for this year. And with all that money coming in, it's probably going to be closer to 2%. And so the U.S. economy is not going to do as dreadful unless some unbelievable event happens as people had thought. And in Europe, they'll do a little bit better than they would have otherwise, and the same in England because they'll be lending that wasn't taking place before. So the economy this year is going to go sideways to upward.
All right, Bob, we're going to be right back and go to phone calls and other news as well. In fact, I've got a big stack of news here that I'm going to intersperse with the calls. It is all coming up, and we'll get Bob's take on Iran. I will be back this evening, 7 o'clock Central. We're going to have Fritz Springmeier back on with the nightly news to get deeper into bloodlines of the Illuminati, a lot more. And, of course, this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. with the Sunday radio show. By the way, we put out a promo video. It's only a minute and a half long. We're going to post it at Infowars.com/events. If you're a radio listener and want to see it or help us get it out to people. But it went up last night on the YouTube channel. It's just now going to go up on Infowars.com. And again, it's just a minute and a half long. We're going to play this and then go back to Bob Chapman and your phone calls. But I'm going to be speaking in Orlando, Florida, and Dallas, Texas. Dallas the 19th of this month, Orlando the 26th. All of my events have always sold out, so if you want to get tickets, I would recommend you don't wait till last minute. Infowars.com/events, and then link through to the Dallas Lakeway Theater and to the big High Life facility we're having it at there in Orlando. Both those links are at Infowars.com/events. Here's the video audio of that promo. Greetings, fellow Info Warriors. Alex Jones here, announcing the first of many trips that I'm going to take across this wonderful United States that we live in. And we get so busy here at Infowars.com, the nightly news, the daily radio show, the documentary films, and all the other things we're doing that I tend to never go out and give speeches anymore. And I've got a lot of ideas bubbling around in my head about the history of the New World Order, what makes them tick and how to defeat them. So I'm titling this key speech I'm going to give. It'll run around 2 hours long, Blueprint to Defeat the New World Order. And we're also going to have a surprise premiere of a short documentary film we've been working on at the event. First off, I'm going to be going to Dallas, Texas, Sunday, February 19th, 2012, to the historic Lakewood Theater. And the next Sunday, February 26th, I'm going to be in Orlando, Florida. You can find out more about the events and buy tickets at Infowars.com/events. Now, unfortunately, every event I've ever had, we've had to turn people away. So get your tickets early at Infowars.com/events. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in this world. And the craziest of all is this explosive awakening. I can't wait to meet you and shake your hand. I'll see you in Dallas, and I'll see you in Orlando. Infowars.com/events. And again, hope to see you there. Very exciting. Going out to visit with some of our affiliates, and I plan to do bigger trips in the future if these go well, just in the time and being able to do the show on the road and the rest of it. Okay, going back to Bob Chapman. Bob, I wanted to get to this before we go to calls. This is an article, and I'll show viewers a document cam shot out of the Huffington Post book reviews, and it's Professor of American Foreign Policy, Zbigniew Brzezinski, top globalist advisor to multi-presidents, the creator of Al-Qaeda, and what we know of as the modern Taliban, the guy that brags that he helped fund Pol Pot. And when you read in here from his new book, Strategic Vision, America and the Crisis of Global Power, when you read into this, this is excerpts from it. He says, a new phenomenon of massive political awakening intensifying. This book seeks to respond to four major questions. What are the implications that challenge distribution of global power from the West to the East, and how is it being affected by the new reality of political awakening humanity? And, of course, he has a full CFR speech 2 years ago where he says humanity's awake. They see the elite, not just the front puppets. And so it is this awakening. Hillary Clinton said last year that the globalists are losing the info war right now, that they're losing the info war. That is with the alternative media. They're freaking out because people know they're liars. They've lost credibility. So what does Cass Sunstein, the White House regulations czar, say? He says, well, what we'll do is we'll just infiltrate and pose as alternative media and try to get people infighting. So whenever you see news organizations pop up that are around, usually about a year, they never wait longer, and then they make about half their business attacking others or wild stories that can't be proven and infighting and claiming they're the only legitimate news organization, look out. There are lots of legitimate alternative media groups and people out there, okay, tons of them. And they're out there getting news out, not trying to get people fighting with each other and, gatekeeping and the rest of it. So that's another big sign from their documents. Bob Chapman, your take on what Brzezinski said, my point about the COINTELPRO infighters.
Well, this goes back 4 years, as you're well aware. And he made a number of speeches, usually in behalf of the Council on Foreign Relations. One was in Toronto, and then another one in New York, another one in New York. And he's sort of their watchdog nowadays. And you read his illustrious past. This guy here is demonic. But anyway, I remember once you said, Alex, we discussed this before, Brzezinski saying, we're breathing down their collar. And Brzezinski said to people at the CFR, you'd better get it together because these people are catching up and they're not going to give up. And so that's where we're at in this book. This book is not for you and I. We're not supposed to read that stuff. I wasn't supposed to be a subscriber to Foreign Affairs, which is the auxiliary organ of the Council on Foreign Relations since 1960.
Where they openly admit all their treason.
Absolutely. And they can't keep their mouths shut. I mean, they even blew it when we had this North American zone where they wanted to merge Mexico, the United States, and Canada together. I mean, they just couldn't stop talking about it. They laid all the plans out for it. But getting back to Brzezinski, they are terrified. And the bottom line is, if we continue to pursue him, we can win. And it's not going to be any nice guy.
Now, what about how Brzezinski and others, and as well as Sunstein, talk about getting us to infight? I mean, you've been fighting the globals for 50 years. Can you talk about how we've always seen people kind of emerge as patriots, and then they automatically start attacking, and then later we find out they were federal agents or federal minions?
I've seen them since the early 60s, and we used to call them change agents. And they almost always were completely unsuccessful, and we saw plenty of them. I think what people have to look out for is people who seem genuine, but they're not. it's a hard call because you just don't know, especially if you haven't been trained to spot this sort of thing. And they're just going to continue to infiltrate society with these kind of people. I'm seeing them already on the right. Some of the writers, some of the moderators, and I don't want to get into it in the program, but I know who's doing what to whom. And they're not fooling me one bit.
Well, Bob, all I know is that we're really starting to have an effect, and that's why the system is now announcing it wants to come in and start censoring the internet, talk radio, you name it. I mean, they're really getting scared.
They certainly are, and they should be. Just in America alone, we got 300 million people. Cut it in half, and we'll say we got 150 million adults. There's a lot of people to reach yet. But this is reaching out all over the world, very, very strong.
Well, that's a talking point I've always heard. We need solutions. All you're doing is talking bad about the globalists. For 15 years, the Founding Fathers put out committees of correspondence exposing the crime of the Redcoats and the British Crown violating Englishmen's God-given rights under Magna Carta. It's the same thing. The solution is pointing out that the mega banks and the globalists are causing the problems, the wars, the tyranny, the breakdown, the narcotics being shipped in. The solution is pointing out they're the criminals, they're the main problem. They've screwed things up so bad, I mean, if we got rid of them today, we'd still be in deep trouble. And our own weaknesses and our own problems and our own laziness, sure. But I mean, the prime, conscious, premeditated movers of corruption and imperial domination over freedom and monopoly capitalism, the opposite of freedom and free market, it's the enemy. Cronyism, insider garbage, shutting down our oil pipeline that we need to be somewhat independent, and then shipping on trains to the west coast of China so Warren Buffett makes money. Shutting down our power plants, letting China build new ones. China gets new trains, we get nothing. Because the globalists have decided to move there. They're done with us. They used us to build the world government. They want to leave us behind as a police state and something and a group to supply mercenaries, and that's it. And you know, we've got to be smart enough to see the big picture, to get outside the controlled paradigm and defeat it. And we're doing that. I want to go to some phone calls, Bob, but you know, this just shows with Brzezinski and Hillary Clinton and their own CFR speeches. I watch body language, and I used to watch globalists 15 years ago on TV. They were arrogant. They were on power trips. They are scared to death now, and they are shaking in their boots because they're trying to convert things to total tyranny, and it's not going well. We're not cowering like they thought on average. We're getting angry and disgusted and getting a fighting spirit despite the fluoride and the brainwashing, and they're starting to really get scared, and they should be. Got comments on that, Bob?
Yes, I do. And that is that this superior position that they've been in is starting to break down. Now, they deliberately have caused the problems that we're seeing today throughout the world in regard to currencies, economy, finance. They're the ones that made that happen. They did it deliberately. I don't know that they can still control it, and I doubt that they can. And that is their Achilles heel. And the reason why is the seat of all their power, the key to all their power, is the control of money, the monetary and fiscal control of governments, and the whole commercial area, so to speak. You know, people ask me a lot about, well, why would they do that? I mean, doesn't that hurt them? And the answer is yes. But in the final analysis, they think they're going to be the only ones that got any money left, and they can buy everything for 5 cents in the dollar. And it's not going to work that way.
All I know is it's us or them. These control freaks have gone too far. Their hubris is what's scary. Let's go to Janice in Texas, and then Noel, Chip, and others. Go ahead, Janice. Welcome.
Hi, Alex. Hi, Bob. How are y'all doing today?
Good, good. Welcome.
Good, good. I have 3 points. One longevity point and comment on the TSA and the king cockroach that you've always warned about, Kirk Watson. You're not going to believe him. I got on the longevity products. Everything that Ben Fuchs and you were talking about is completely correct. I'm transformed. But the mental clarity, it's like I've stepped out of a fog. literally. I can put the pieces together. Okay, and expanding upon that, my comment about the TSA is, you know, we all know it's admitted that they don't want anybody with above 70 IQ or whatever. They prefer high school dropouts. But also, I would be willing to bet money that none of those people have ever had a passport or been anywhere in their whole life. The same with the Stasi. When I got accosted by the Stasi in 1982 on a night train to Berlin, and I saw that same jealousy and contempt in their eyes. And anyway, so that's my comment about that. But
yeah, no. I mean, I've been to some authoritarian countries, and I've seen slimy, you know, cops in like Honduras where everybody's scared of them, and I see the same slimy criminalness I can't handle it. It's so offensive, and just my natural instinct to live in a free society is I have contempt, rage, anger. I mean, I know that's the enemy. I mean, that's the enemy. That's an enemy banker occupation force, just like Chinese troops or Russian troops walking down my street. I mean, that's Red Dawn, federal banker government trying to grab my wife. It gets me hotter than a pistol. God bless you. I want to get Bob Chapman's take on that. Well said, man. Bob, I mean, how do you handle it? Because, I mean, I'm getting to the point where I have just got real anger problems.
Well, you're not as old as I am, so you don't get the anger problems, but which I don't. You know, you don't argue, you defeat them. And that's what we have to figure out to do. And her experience, the young lady who called in on the night train to Berlin, and I know that train very well, that was, you know, par for the course. And that's what you're going to see in America. Sir, give me your papers, please. That sort of thing.
They don't even say please. Like they want you to know you're scum.
Well, some do, some don't. But it all depends on whether you are a foreigner or not. They're usually a little bit more lax with foreigners. But you're going to see that in America. You're going to be a foreigner in America. It's going to be dreadful. And we have to do what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, I can't handle them messing with my family. And you know, that's going to happen. More and more people are just not going to put up with it, Bob.
Well, that's why gun sales keep on going up. Not that that's the final answer, but people are frightened.
God, Ron Paul came out and said that. Oh, I'm not looking for trouble either, but I mean, you know, I cannot handle this, and I just know they work for a murdering, narcotics trafficking, banker occupation government. I mean, our country's been hijacked by criminals. I know they're the bad guys, and I don't care what amount of baloney the minions of this system fill their brains with. I'm right and they're wrong, and that's the end of it. I mean, let's go ahead and talk to Noel in Illinois. You're on the air, Noel. Welcome.
Alejandro and Roberto, always good to speak with you. Number one, last Friday, I'm at Union Station in Chicago, and I'm in line to get a train ticket, and I see a TSA agent at Union Station in Chicago. Unfortunately, I couldn't film it or, you know, go up to him and ask him questions because I was in a huge line, and I would have been late to my train. My girlfriend would have been upset. But anyone in the Chicagoland area, please get your cameras, go to Union Station.
No, they're on highway checkpoints. I mean, it's on the news. They drag families out and do the groping now. I mean, it's like it's a religion of submitting to their pervert behavior.
I want to be quick. I have a source. I'm naming the source Pat, just like the SNL character, like Big Sis Napolitano. You're not going to know if it's a man or a woman. But, you know, we have the War Criminals Summit coming up in Chicago in May. And, you know, I've been following that a lot. I actually predicted that would happen about a year ago before news even broke that we would have that because the sugar daddy, Rahm Emanuel, is...
Wait a minute, I remember you now. You called in and said since sugar daddy's been elected, I predict the next G20 is going to be here, but it's G20 and NATO.
Yeah, G8 NATO. I knew something was going to happen because Rahm Emanuel, like he said, don't let a good crisis go to waste. Now, I have a source, and I'm in the works of talking with Pat, my source. You're not going to know if it's a woman or a man.
I know, tell us.
What my source is telling me is that the Chicago Police Department, as well as other security sources, it's already a national security event, are setting up for mass arrests, setting up for riot officers to be on the streets of Chicago using high-grade military pepper spray, weapons, etc., getting set for, like we see in Montebello, Toronto.
Oh, no, that's already admitted, sir. No. It's sound cannons, microwave guns, everything. It's about a big party attacking the American people and anywhere else these parasites meet. Let's get Bob's take on that. More calls straight ahead. We'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to do a 5 minutes overdrive or so we can get to everybody that's holding, like Richard in Texas, listening on XM Channel 166. Chip, Freedom Lover, Michael. I'll try to get to Austin. Bob Chapman's our guest. They're coming out with a new aspartame that's I guess what's left over from these E. coli, calling it Neotame. And now the FDA is announcing you will not be allowed to know on labels if it's in your food. That's the new thing. They don't want you to know it's GMO. Oh, you stop buying it? We just won't label it. This is the FDA we've all been taught to worship. Almost the entire FDA is former Monsanto. And then they go back into Monsanto and go up the carousel of getting paid more money. It is just, we're going to cover this on the Nightly News tonight. Bob Chapman, again, we always knew this would happen, but by forcing pressure onto the tyrants, people are like, well, they're going to get us. That's the whole point. Make them go from creeping around to coming out in the open, and it's working. They are just across the board. Oh, you don't want shots? We'll make it the law. You don't want fluoride? We'll make it the law. You don't want aspartame? We'll put it in your food and not tell you. They are really showing us what they are, aren't they, Bob?
They certainly are. And I'm afraid you're going to see far more of that in other preparations that people don't want to have or eat. And it's going to force people toward all-natural food if they can get it. And next they'll be going out to the gardens. I think I've told you before, my daughter produces 80% of what they eat in a little garden, and like 18 eggs a week, and they get rabbits, and they live in the city. And so you got to think about those things.
Bob, they're already going after gardens everywhere, bro. They're saying you got to pay a fee to have one. You got to have inspections to make sure you're not growing drugs preemptively because you're guilty until proven slave in America.
No, that's true.
Just total scum. It's like Stalin banned people having gardens, Bob.
That's right.
It's the same thing.
They did during that epic, and they survived because of it. I don't know whether they charged them for the gardens or forbid them.
Well, no, first, you're right. First, they banned them, especially in the Ukraine. And then the commies couldn't even get food, so they said, you're allowed one small area and pay us a fee. Yes, that's how it works. That's why most of the 60-plus million died under Mao. It's on record. He wouldn't let them have their own gardens. You know about that. This is standard commie takeover. Commies don't let prisoners grow food. You don't grow fruit in land of the free, home of the brave. What do you think, you grow food in America? Monsanto poison? What do you... Oh, man, you think you're in a free country? We're going to stick our hands down your pants at the airport. That's freedom. Yeah, put you in a microwave oven, too. Oh, so good, so liberal. Chip in New Mexico, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hi, Alex. It's good to talk to you. Thank you for allowing me to get on. I'd like to tell you a little situation about going on over here in New Mexico. There's a gun store in Deming, New Mexico that was raided by the ATF and all the different agencies. I'm personally friends with the family, and I'm working with the mother of the owner.
What, the family didn't ship guns to narcotics traffickers, so they're in trouble?
Well, apparently they've been doing this thing. I believe it's a spinoff of Fast and Furious. Anyway, I've been working to try to help free these people, and I'm...
What are they charging them with at the gun shop?
Oh, they have, they've stacked charges, there's 30 charges, 40 charges, all kinds of stuff. But everybody they sold guns to passed the background check. And
no, I know now. No, they take gun dealers to jail now for not dotting an I. I've actually seen it. They sit there at big gun ranges, and every once in a while a semi-auto rifle will have a mistake and fire two. They won't clap you in irons, admit it's an accident, you're gone 10 years. Send me info to tips@infowars.com. But what town did this happen? What's the family's name?
The family's name is it's the Reese family, out of Deming, New Mexico, and I have the phone number for the mother if you'd like to do an interview with her.
Okay, we'll put you on hold and get it. We're going to jam in a few more phone calls here, but look at these headlines at drudgereport.com and Infowars.com. Big Sis taps hot dog sellers at Super Bowl to look for terrorists. UN wants world tax to help the poor. Congress calls for accelerated use of drones in USA. Iran warns world of coming great event. Israel could strike this spring. Can hit all of Iran's nuclear facilities. Hackers intercept FBI Scotland Yard calls. I mean, it is getting crazy. Roseanne Barr's on next week. She's announcing she's running for president. She's a listener of the show. Hi, Roseanne. All right, and I'll be back tonight. I want to jam in a few more calls, but make no mistake, the world is getting mooey crazy. Yeah, when the bullet hits the bone. A freedom lover in Florida. You're on the air. Welcome.
Hi, Alex. I wanted to, with your permission, I had an email exchange with one of your frequent guests, and I wanted to get your take on what he had to say to the questions that I asked him. In short, I asked him if there was a coalition of, good people that have influence, backed by good members of the military and police, what he, if he actually thought the republic, whether it could be restored to what it used to be. And with your permission, I'd like to let you know.
Well, sure. I mean, I don't even know if the person said this or who it is. You can send it to me, but I mean, and so what did the person say about that?
That the globalists are right on schedule with what they're doing, that the public has adapted to the changes that have already taken place, and they're living the double think of being global and still being a republic.
I mean, we have a lot of guests on who get pessimistic, and I understand why, but we're actually having great strides against tyranny, and I've proven that I know what I'm talking about. So, I mean, I don't agree with everything that my guests say. A lot of guests I have on I disagree with, but just that verbiage, who is that, Alan Watt?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, Alan's really studied their writings. You can see and the globalists are very arrogant and very confident. And I mean, Alan's a really smart guy, but I think at a subconscious level, people kind of just see the master plan and think, how will the general public defeat this? It's not going to be the general public that's going to defeat it. And so it is a tough road we fight, but I mean, you can't just roll over to it. So, I've had discussions with Alan about that. I could tell sounds like something he'd say. But I mean, let's get Bob Chapman's take on that. Bob?
Well, first of all, that's an incredible answer. I don't know how you picked that out. But anyway, you have to compartmentalize what's going on, and then you have to put it all together. And most people don't have time to do that. And there's always, in the background, things that very, very bright people refuse to deal with, things that they don't like.
Well, I think part of it is I have a semi-photographic memory. It used to be photographic. So I have heard that person say things word for word. That's how I knew. It's not very hard, actually, when you know it. But, I mean, I could see that's his view that, it's very hard to beat them. I agree with it in a way. But yeah, I mean, look, we don't have a choice, but it's a mind game. You will defeat them if you believe you can and take action. It's not enough to have faith. Faith and action, that's what wins any war. Bob Chapman.
I think you're absolutely right. And you keep on grinding and grinding and grinding and refusing to accept defeat. Because defeat is death in this case. And so there's a lot of people that don't want to go beyond a certain level. And there's a lot of reasons why. And that's okay. Because they can take it to a level. And there's higher levels that I handle like people like yourself and myself who don't have those, we'll call them hang-ups or problems.
Well, look, I mean,
there's a lot to this thing. It just isn't spotting these people and telling them what they're doing. You got to tell them their history and why they're doing it, and you do that.
All right. Well, Bob Chapman, thank you so much. TheInternationalForecaster.com. We'll talk to you again next week, my friend.
I see you then. Bye-bye.
Thank you, my friend. See you back tonight, 7 o'clock, PrisonPlanet.tv. Back Sunday, 4 to 6. Sorry to the other callers. Call me Sunday.